Hey everyone, Pam Bam Richard here. Welcome to Tales of Marathon Stream 3, Day 7. We're here at the final leg of the marathon with Tales of Berseria. This game's the most recent title that was localized, fresh, recently localized. Well, how can I explain this? There's been so many releases after this game, but what I'd like to say is that this game was certainly the game that was new and built as much from the ground up as possible in relation to the previous release, Tales of Berseria. And essentially, this is pretty much like our final, original game before we move on to, if you want to count Tales of Berseria, but at the same time, with the newest release, Tales of Arise. Okay, how do I feel about this game? Well, I want to say this game, when I first revisited this game, this was like my first game when I was starting to get back into the series again. I gave myself a bit of a year break, to be honest, so I didn't play this game right away at launch. So when I picked this game up and I started to play it again around 2018, it really left a good impression in my mouth. It felt cool, like I played through this on hard on my first run, it felt like it was a great time. After I started playing other Tales of games and was exploring the different mechanics of them all, I feel like I wanted to revisit this game again to sort of reevaluate my opinions and whatnot, because one thing particularly that comes to mind with this game is the gameplay, and the gameplay, well, it's not quite, I would like to say, up to snuff. Personally, it's definitely more, I would like to say, on the easier side of things compared to other Tales of games. So, when I did revisit this game this year, that point that I thought that premonition that I had certainly felt a little bit more validated and whatnot, but I still feel good with the narrative. I thought I have a different opinion about the narrative when I revisited this game this year, especially after going through other narratives like Tales of Destiny 2 and Tales of Rebirth, games like that. So I thought I would have a bit of a not as good opinion about it when I revisited it this year, but it ended up still being more of the same. So, you know what? I do very much like the narrative. We're going to talk more about it as we keep on going. Also, how's everybody doing here right now? I know all of you guys are a little bit super troopers and whatnot. Is the audio a little bit too loud? I guess we'll lower it down a little bit then. Okay, so let's bring it down a little bit here. Hopefully that might be a little bit better for everybody. In any case, I hope everybody's doing okay. Once again, for those of you guys who were the super troopers from last night, I apologize for my performance with the final boss of Eternia, but we have moved on to this game. We have moved on to Tales of Berseria. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to start off a new game plus with this run. So essentially, what we'll be doing, we'll be getting some of the usual carryovers that you may be familiar with the Tales of Vesperia playthrough. Particularly what we're going to be carrying over. We're going to be carrying over... Oh, you know what? This is my favorite things about the new games. They just pre-select what you practiced with last time, so I don't have to worry about picking them up again. So you got double experience, double gold, and we're going to be playing in hard mode, and that's pretty much all we're going to be carrying over. Because, like I said during the intro of this game is certainly on the easier side of things compared to games like the two previous games of the marathon, Tales of Eternia and Tales of Vesperia. Hopefully the audio mixing is a little bit better now. I did try to lower the audio a little bit, but I think that's as good as we can get it here. But if there is any issues, feel free to let me know. And right now we're starting off with a very, very, very rough intro. Like, what is going on here? There's so many things that are happening in front of me right now. This is like danger, destruction, and everything in between. And oh, would you listen to this? This is Alphen. Well, I mean, honestly, this is like a modern Tales of game, so you're going to be hearing a lot of familiar Tales of voice actors that have appeared in previous Tales of games and in the future Tales of Arise. So first off, the character that we see right in front of us is voiced by Alphen's voice actor. I believe it's Ray Chase. They haven't announced it yet, because I'm pretty sure they're just waiting for like the time to do so. But I'm pretty sure everybody can tell that it was Ray Chase who voices Alphen. When it comes to this game and the rest of the voice actors, we'll be hearing them as we go, as we're listening to this little girl right now, and I'm afraid that she's going to be taking my money at any point in time. But it is, in fact, Christina V who is voicing the little girl that we're seeing right in front of us over here. And we'll be seeing her later on once we get to the to what happens after this cutscene.
No matter what.
I guess when it comes to the narrative, the really cool things that I like to say is that, like, the narrative of this game, I would like to say, is that, like, it's still pretty good. Like, I probably give it, like, I put it a little bit below Tales of Eternia for me to give a bit of a background with regards to that, but the thing that makes it even more intriguing about this narrative, I like to say, is when you consider Tales of Zestiria. And I know a lot of people don't like Tales of Zestiria. That's why it's weird, because like when it comes to this game, like there's usually like two camps that are very common from what I see. There's like Tales of Zestiria fans and Tales of Berseria fans, and it's like there's barely ever you find folks who like both games. And I want to say, after revisiting this game and revisiting Tales of Zestiria this year to prepare for the marathon, I kind of want to say that I like both games as complementary pieces, because I feel like really the biggest issue when it came to Tales of Zestiria particularly is the timing, I want to say. I know there are many people who want to talk about the common things that comes with Tales of Zestiria with regards to the release and the characters promoted and things like that, but I think the biggest thing for me would have to be the timing, because I feel like with Zestiria's narrative, it could have benefited a little bit better, for me personally, if this game had come out first. So that way, we could understand the struggles of the Shepherd a little bit better. But with that aside, also, look at this. Tales of in 60 frames on a modern console. Like, I remember when I first picked this up, I'm like, everything is looking very smooth and clean and a little bit, like, a nicer color palette, I would like to say. So when I first booted this up, I'm like, wow, this looks really, really good. Like, off here with the intro right away, like, it's just right at the start over here. Like, you know what? I'm actually starting to see familiar scenes that you see from the OVA, but we're going to talk about the OVA as we keep on going over here.
On that day, the world began to change.
The big thing about this game, I'd like to say particularly, is Velvet and her power right over here. Honestly, I think the one thing, like I mentioned earlier, the one thing that I'm not particularly going to be fond of, for a lack of a better term, is playing the battles, because it is a little bit too easy. But I'm going to try to switch between as many of the different party members as possible to sort of like explore, because a lot of the times, a lot of players, when they pick up the games, the Tales of games, they almost always stick with like the main character. So if you always stay with the main character, Velvet here, her battle capabilities are way too OP. Way too OP at this, like, once you unlock her ability later on. So the good thing about this game that I like to say with regards to the previous two games of the marathon as well is that I don't have to press the X button whenever I need to advance the dialogue. It's pretty much like the one thing that I was like particularly excited about when we got to this point of the marathon, because that means I don't have to like accidentally skip lines earlier and whatnot. And I think the first time when they started doing like these, I mean, technically if you want to talk about like auto advancing cutscenes, the first one that really started to do it was Tales of Legendia, and then afterwards they didn't really do it until Tales of Symphonia Dawn of the New World. So it's kind of nice to sort of like actually put down the controller and allow the cutscene to sort of keep going.
On your own.
Arthur's first maxim.
Oh, the Maxims. The Maxims. Somebody brought up during the breaks that somebody referenced that the Maxims are kind of similar to like the Dwarven Vows in Symphonia. I don't know if that person's here right now. It is also still really early. But I guess like in a sense it does sort of reference that. And speaking of references, this game does have quite a number of references to go through from the series past, and I think that's part of the reasons why I kind of like this game as well, because there's like bits and pieces where it references the games and whatnot from the past, and we'll be definitely getting into that as we keep going here. So the first thing that I want to do, alright, so pardon me as I try to reassociate myself with the buttons here again. I've been going through it's like the same problem when I had when I started Vesperia. Like I kept pressing the touchpad for the menu instead of triangle. So if I start like attacking randomly when I mean to press the menu, please bear with me because I just played through like 2 Tales of games where the menu is associated with the triangle button instead of the touchpad, which I think I only played like the Arise demo a little bit, but I think the Arise demo uses the touchpad for the menu as well. So there is certainly a consistency now that they're starting to go with the menu.
Before I go into the forest. I don't have a lot of money to spare.
All right, so we're gonna pick up this resistance ring right over here, and the thing about equipments in this game is that it's gonna follow the same sort of pattern when it comes to Vesperia a little bit, where you want to keep your equipment, but you're not getting skills that are in the sense of like boosting your battle capabilities. Instead, you're gonna be getting skills that sort of like are small modifiers here, like art attack +5, HP recovery on beating foes. Like they're very small compared to like, think of games like, you know, your usual RPGs, I guess you'd say, but I don't have much to compare with that. But I guess I could say also Castlevania Symphony of the Night for an old school reference. Okay, so we got our resistance ring, and I think we're gonna be pushing forward to the northeast, I want to say. Yeah, I guess this is the right way, because we need to go hunt for prickle boars to earn money to pay for our little brother's medicine. So we're off to see if we could find said prickle boars. And for those who want to make the reference, I do appreciate the reference too. This is pretty much a straight-up shout-out to Tales of Fantasia. So it's a nice little thing to sort of like call back to if you've played like the first game in the series. So we're off to hunt for some prickle boars and see if we could make the money for our little sister to... No, I don't know. What I forgot about Ami, like from Tales of Fantasia. Like, does Ami have to like make... I forgot the reason why. Well, we're getting food for Ami, but here we're making money for our little brother instead. Alright, so right over here, we're kind of introduced to the soul system already. So all you're given here is that with our art buttons, there's no basic attacks in this game, so we have to constantly mash one of the 4 face buttons to get a chain combo going. So it kind of gets things similar to the, how can I say this, the like Tales of Graces system that you see on like PS3 and whatnot. So like if we continue going here and if we stun an enemy, then we gain a soul. So there's a lot different here compared to other games in the series. Like this is very much kind of like a pseudo CC system in a sense, and it also kind of shares a similar vibe with Tales of Vesteria's battle system, particularly when it tries to re-emulate the SC gauge, the spirit gauge, I like to call it. So here they call it the soul gauge right over here, and I think the first thing that everybody appreciated when they moved over to this game from Berseria is the use of camera movement. I think it was like, if I recall correctly, the Tales of Berseria promo period. They were very quiet about this game. They didn't reveal too much about the battle system, and there was one moment where we did learn about the battle system from a video that wasn't particularly supposed to be released to the public. The PR person, when advertising Tales of Berseria, mentioned that, like, I wanted to emphasize that you're gonna get camera movement, you're gonna get free camera movement. And it was like completely demonstrated on the off-screen video. It was very amusing to see. Also, we're playing on hard, by the way, so just to give everybody the heads up on that. But yeah, like it's like, oh, you get to move the camera. You free roaming camera. Keep moving the camera everywhere. But something that I learned from a friend of mine that if I haven't tested it out myself yet because I not too many want to play Zesteria with me anymore. But basically, if you play co-op on Tales of Zesteria, you can control the camera in that game. Like I haven't tested it out myself, but I trust my friend with this information. So it's like I want to really see like actual camera work to work with Zesteria, and it kind of makes me wonder why didn't they implement that for Tales of Zesteria's camera? But I guess like they associated the right stick to commands like all out and things like that, but it's a little bit unfortunate that that feature wasn't actually inputted for a single player experience. And for me, I could definitely say my first experience of Tales of Zesteria was very much hampered by the camera. Like, I did try to play around with the settings, and eventually I found it, and it was still somewhat enjoyable, but the camera really left such a bad taste in my mouth that it essentially didn't help, what are the words I'm looking for? Help assuage the experience for me. Yeah, you can control the camera in the... You can control the camera if you set it that way in the option menu. Are you you're talking about Berseria? Are you talking about Berseria? Because I didn't think I found that option. I can't revisit it now, obviously, because Berseria is not the game that we're playing through right now. So, unfortunately, I can't demonstrate that myself. But right now, we're just going through Berseria. But you're going to hear a lot of me talking about Berseria and this game because there are certainly similarities as you keep on going forward. Alright, so one final set of prickle boards over here. Let's just see if we can get rid of them. So, a cool thing about this game is that you do also have the whole, like, quick dodging and all that. So, kind of like a little bit of graces where, like, if you quick step and move away from enemies, you gain, like, an additional advantage a bit. So, here, like, if you do some quick steps of enemy attacks, you're going to be rewarded with some soul. So, the thing about soul currently right now is that for every step that we make with our attacks that are attached to the 4 face buttons, it will consume a particular amount of soul gauge. So right here, for example, if you see the triangle chain here, you see Tearing Thorn, Gouging Spin, Harsh Rebuttal, and Rising Moon. You got a soul gauge of 6, 8, 11, and 9. So if I recall correctly, like, you're going to be running through like 20 soul gauge per soul. And the thing about it is that you keep attacking as much as you want, but the thing is, if you run out of soul, then you'll find yourself staggered, as you might have seen in the previous tutorial that I demonstrated.
This should be enough to cover the medicine. I'd better bring these
Also,
to the store.
this is probably the only game in the series that you're gonna be seeing skits. And it's not because I'm setting off the skits myself, it's because a lot of the cutscenes in this game, the way that they present oh, I can't do anything with that. The way that they present the cutscenes of a majority, like, I would say half or a majority of this game, maybe half. I think half is a fair assessment. Half of this game, you're going to be seeing a lot of the cutscenes presented in the skit format. So I kind of find it a little bit amusing for those who thought there were too many skits in this game. Maybe Bamco heard that feedback and thought, or 2D skits in this game, and maybe Bamco heard that feedback and tried to make it a little bit more immersive, but that's a different topic altogether. Here, we're going to be, again, more shoutouts to Tales of Fantasia. Well, particularly because, like, when we're hunting the boar in Tales of Fantasia, you kind of run into a group of boars and you take them out. So we're kind of doing the same thing over here. Like, I really like the very beginning of this game because it all particularly shouts out the Tales of Fantasia. And here we're going to be learning about hidden arts here. So we're going to be following the tutorial as listed here, because if you don't follow the tutorial as listed, then it will not advance. You better map it to the X button and keep on going here. So as mentioned in the tutorial, I just used a hidden art called Searing Edge. You're going to want to, like, alternate between arts like your hidden arts and your martial arts. If I recall correctly, the hidden arts are very much well useful for breaking enemy guard and stunning them. But they kind of have a fallback where they are a little bit more expensive in soul gauge cost. So that's pretty much the exchange between them. If you don't have too much soul gauge, then using your hidden arts a lot, you're going to be finding yourself at a point where you're going to be stunning your main character, your player character, essentially. So let's see if we can get rid of more of these boards. It's pretty much a very standard affair here. Velvet here, I kind of like Velvet right now playing as her, because, like, currently she's kind of not as known for her overpowered nature at this point in time, but that's certainly going to change as we keep going through the day here. So let's see if we can keep getting down all these prickle boards to make the money for Laffy's medicine. And I mean, I do like one thing that I also like with regards to this game, and I think I don't think Berseria did it, but the thing about Berseria, when it comes to introducing new mechanics, it lets you actually try it out first. So it's kind of a cool way to sort of ease you in a little bit. There are other Tales of games that do it, like Tales of Hearts R comes into question when you think about Tales of games that allow you to essentially practice the mechanics, the new mechanics and whatnot.
Cirrus.
An exorcist art.
Pride and anxiety. Pity for
Looks
the
like we're
enemy.
saved by
Thrill of
the individual that we saw at the opening as
Your
well.
emotions run too hot. That will be your downfall.
With a special fire attack, by the way. For some reason, we weren't able to take down with our Searing Edge.
Agreed.
Yo, I keep forgetting. This is like a point where I can put the controller down. This is definitely not Tales of Berseria 2, where I need to keep holding the controller when I press L2 and R2 to make a choice. It's like, oh, yeah, these Tales of games, I get to put the controller down and, like, listen to the cutscenes and all that. But in Berseria 2, no, you gotta keep holding onto the controller to make your options and whatnot.
Victorious.
Got it.
In any case, this should be enough to buy
Remembering
off
the
his
Egg Bear
medicine.
trial. The ruins of Volta are in the forest. Anybody here played Xenoblade Chronicles X, Ray Chase? Oh, yeah, like, I'll be honest, I haven't played too many of the modern JRPGs and whatnot, so bear with me as I try to know about other roles and whatnot. Honestly, I think the only RPGs that want to, like, reference and whatnot are basically, like, the Tales of series when it comes to modern JRPGs, but maybe someday I'll play a game like... Oh, I'll definitely think about playing Scarlet Nexus someday. Like, that game in itself is a bit amusing because that was also made by previous Tales of devs and whatnot.
Can only be challenged by those with the talent for exorcism.
But yeah, it's kind of weird because we can make all the voice actor jokes we want. Like, I mean, Velvet here, you know, take my money, haha, I'm Nova in Tales of Berseria 2. This guy here is all about, oh, I'm gonna be the main character next game. I start off this way and I become a main... Sorry, I got distracted by the most important question in this game. It was all thanks to that one bird. That bird is the reason for why we hear that question. If it weren't for that question, if it weren't for that bird, that question would not exist. That question would not be a thing. Let's all blame that bird. It wasn't this guy's fault. It wasn't Velvet's fault. It was the bird's fault. It was that bird. Let's all direct our attention to the actual problem here. Or you know what? Maybe it's a talent. Maybe it's a talent that Arthur has. Like, the moment he asks that question, he can summon a bird. Like, nobody thought about that. Maybe it's just his quirk. Maybe it's just suddenly something that he can pull off. I don't know. Like, I guess, like, when we're coming from, like, the big thing from Eternia for me, like, I personally really like the Eternia's narrative, so I may not be as, what are the words I'm looking for? I may not gush as much about this game's narrative, but at the end of the day, I do find some characters that have some good character growths. One in particular we'll be finding maybe much later during this session, but I still think that the narrative is okay, especially if you think about how it relates to Tales of Zestiria. I think that's the biggest intrigue for me, because, again, once I said, when I played Tales of Berseria 3 years ago, there was something particularly that I wanted to point out, and the biggest thing was that Tales of Berseria made me want to play Tales of Zestiria again. And if a game can do that, I think that's probably a good job in my book for this game to get like a good rating from me. Because again, my first impression of Tales of Zestiria was not particularly good, as with plenty of others. But I was willing to take the time to revisit Tales of Zestiria, and I definitely was happy to have revisited, because like I feel like, again, both games are very complementary to each other. It's once again a big timing issue, I'd like to say, at the end of the day. I guess if I were to elaborate on that a bit more, like, we're going to be learning more about what it means to be the shepherd from how it's established in Tales of Zestiria in this game, but I feel like it would have set like a better example for a foundation when it comes to Tales of Zestiria. I know some people got it when they played it, but I didn't, and I'm still trying to like establish like an analysis and like my own personal opinion about like why I didn't, because there's still like a sort of like freshness for me going through both games recently. But I think like the biggest thing for me is like the whole shepherd ordeals and trials could have been a little bit more visually demonstrated in Zestiria, and in Berseria they definitely visually demonstrate it.
We're safe here, right? After all, your brother-in-law's an exorcist.
I also like Nico's voice actress here, particularly because I remember her voice work as May in Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia. May, her work as May is probably like one of my favorites to hear in the series. And speaking of Nico as well, she kind of has like a similar model to Rose in Tales of Zestiria. As for those who may be a little bit keen on looking at the game and playing through the game, you kind of see a lot of very similar models being used from Tales of Zestiria to this game, which makes sense considering the development cycles between both games as well.
This is life or death for me. But I thought your folks weren't keen on the two of you dating. Who cares what people think? The important thing is
I do like how much the voice work of this person really sort of lends on to the personality of this person as well. So everything's all very nice and cheery over here as we are getting very familiar with our cast of characters right now. I do hope that Nico eventually finds an ending to her own little quest right over there. But we're going to be heading off right over here to, after we picked up our medicine for Laffy, we're going to be heading off to treat him, basically. Let him know that his big sister is here to help him out. Oh, and speaking of Shadows of Valentia, I just finished that game prior to playing this game for the first time, and then when I heard Nico's voice, and then when I hear about this character, Silica, I'm like, oh, well then, I feel like playing Shadows of Valentia again. But that aside, we learned about how 7 years ago. Oh, no, Presencias. Sorry, I got distracted by Presencias because those flowers certainly mean something different in Crestoria, and I remember constantly writing those out during the launch. But in any case, yes, we were able to pick up Presencias for, looks like our older sister, Silica? Yep. And if we do a quick check here, yeah, it's very unfortunate that, yeah, it's a bit of a sad start right over here, learning about what happened to... Like, I mean, we learned that they've already passed on, so we already know there's some families already missing right now, but it's a good thing that Velvet is here for the remaining family that she has.
Laffy, I told you to stay in bed.
I was only up for a little.
They're easy to get now? Yeah, I figure they're easy to get now, but back in the day when I started playing Tales of Crestoria, that's when it started to get really, well, it was certainly a grind. I'm so glad that it improved since then, that's for sure.
It uses a magnet to tell you which way you're facing.
Woohoo! You can use the sun and stars for that.
Oh, that's something I also want to say. From the jump from the voice work of Tales of Eternia to this game is like, oh great. I'm so happy that we're gonna hear some nice voice work that occurs throughout this game here. I mean, we ragged on yesterday with regards to Tales of Eternia and how things weren't really particularly directed well. Like the voice cast was good, but the direction could have been better. In this game, it's nice to hear that it reflects more so the standard of modern voice acting in these kind of games. And I'm all for it because some of the voice work that you hear here is really good. It's just such a standard that you kind of just like accept it as is. But I think like a lot of folks sort of like take for granted for how voice acting was back in the day compared to now. And particularly when it comes to, I can't. We're done with Eternia. We've moved on from Eternia. Eternia has been experienced in its own right, but like KP, you did mention that Symphonious when they started to care a little bit more, like add a bit more attention to the voice acting. Even though I wouldn't say Symphonious is probably the best, it definitely had a bit more of a better quality of the voice acting compared to Eternia, and it just kept going up and up from there. So I'm very particularly glad that this is now the standard of the voice acting that we're getting, and I'm particularly interested in what we're gonna get when we hear Tales of Arise.
I wish I could do that.
So the thing about this game, when it comes to like thinking and comparing between both this game and Zestiria in terms of the gameplay, I definitely I definitely did like Zestaria's a bit more at the end of the day, because Zestaria is sort of like the whole linking thing that they started in Tales of Exilia 1. They essentially refined it like in Exilia 2, even though I don't really like linking, but when it came to Tales of Zestaria, I felt like they were able to sort of refine linking altogether. Where it was like, oh, you armatize, oh, you have to get out of armatization, and it's like, that wasn't really something where you sort of hear in like Exilia 1 and Exilia 2, where it's like, oh, you have to link to win. You have to get into overlimit through linking. Like, there was so much of a priority of linking in Tales of Exilia that it felt like you couldn't really do much if you're playing by yourself. Linking is basically armatization in Zestaria, but then you're encouraged to, armatize, but don't armatize if like your enemies are casting spells, for example. So it's kind of cool to sort of see that finally refined, but then they kind of dropped it in this game, and at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad that they dropped it, because I don't really like linking as a mechanic at the end of the day. This is coming from the perspective of somebody who plays multiplayer a lot, as much as he can, because it's not, you can't really get much done with linking when you're playing multiplayer. And it's like, the worst part is when I have to tell friends, oh, sorry, I have to link with you. Don't put down the controller for a bit as we beat the boss here. Like, it's good for a single or two-player experience, but when it gets to 3 or 4 people, that's when it gets a little bit unfortunate at the end of the day.
I will. I'm glad you've got a good friend.
Yeah, we've known each other since forever. Still, Nico,
I will say this. The opening here certainly sets the the very nice and good rumblings around here in the hometown of A Ball for Velvet, but it certainly is a bit of a slow start, I want to say. There isn't really too much for me to say with regards to the narrative at the very beginning here, but it is like a good way to sort of start setting things up. But particularly, you get to see like the nice home life here of Velvet and Laffy said here. It's kind of cute. Like, I dig it. Like, Velvet's being like an older sister to her younger brother and has like a mentor in Arthur. So it's a nice little rumblings of the hometown. But yeah, this start, when coming back to it now, it does get a little bit on the slow side of things, even though we do start to see the foundations of what's to come later on. That's for sure. Yeah, there are going to be a lot of skits. Like, I think, like, if we're having a skit count right now, we're currently, like, in terms of skit presentation, we're kind of, like, at maybe, like, a 5 or a 6, which is more skits than I've shown in this entire marathon, I'd like to say. But, hey, you know what? At least we get to see, like, the skit format in some way, shape, or form in a Tales game. But it's definitely going to be something that you're going to be noticing, especially over the 3-day period. A lot of these cutscenes are going to be presented in skit format.
That's all.
They're good skit images, though, I want to say. Like, I do like the whole, like, sliding in style a bit and showing the two characters in together. It's kind of like a pseudo... it's like going through, like, a slide reel of, like, the different panels. Or, like, it's more comic-y than ever, it looks like. Like, all the comic panels are sliding in and whatnot. But, you know, I do say comic-like, but essentially... Tales of Arise, like, as much as you want to say about the 3D presentation of the skits, I think, like, they were able to expand on it further by letting the skits be presented in a sort of comic sort of presentation.
Good boy.
You know what, Kip, you bring that up. And the thing is, I guess, like, I might be pointing out, like, its slowness because, like, I kind of see, like, I just went through Eternia, so maybe I'm a little bit nitpicky on the start of it. But if you haven't played 2 Tales games before this, like me, then you'll know that this opening is a particularly good length. But for me, after playing 2 other Tales games, I'm like, oh, we're gonna see another intro here, and particularly here with Velvet. She's very much like a stereotypical Tales protagonist, which isn't a bad thing, I'm gonna say. But I just played through Tales of Eternia, and I know what this game actually is going to be as we keep on pushing forward here. I mean, you've all seen the cover art. You all see the image on the right side of the stream there. I'm pretty sure you all know that there's going to be some troubles and a dynamic change later on. But the way that starts off, it certainly starts off the way like a standard Tales of game, which is pretty amusing. That's for sure.
Okay, let's see. Today, I've got to dry some meat and use
Yeah, honestly, Fruitbomb is all about. That's pretty much how it is. Like when it comes to complaints, it's unfortunate because like with complaints, we're constantly like it has to be journalized because we see it from people online, and then we like ultimately associate it's like, oh, the internet is complaining. I'm guilty of this too. Hey, I'll admit it. But yeah, this feels like the thing when it comes to the internet when they're like responding to the games and whatnot, or like the things that they're not particularly fond of. There's always like it feels like they're goalposting, but really at the end of the day, they are different people, but the collective opinion of the fandom constantly keeps to changing as goalposts. Like, oh, there's too many 2D skits. Oh no, I missed the 2D skits. It's like, well, this is why it's hard to be a creator. This is why it's hard to be a game developer. This is why it's hard to be a game company. You keep trying to appeal to the fans and associate with the feedback and whatnot, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be something that they complain about. But at the same time, like the people who do complain, those are the ones that are like really like of the minority that are like the what are the words I'm looking for? Like they're kind of like there's always like the quiet majority and the outspoken minority. I want to say like the outspoken minority I personally associate with all those like internet complaints where it's like, oh, what happened to the skits and everything. But I guess it really just depends at the end of the day as to how you approach it. But you have to have a keen eye to sort of like see how that is and how it applies. But yeah, the skit complaints is certainly something.
He's a good lad, but not the merchant type.
So we learn a really cool thing here where we kind of see that Laphicet like replicated an entire book from scrap, which is pretty impressive if you ask me for a child. Like this kid knows exactly what he's doing, and he traded in to sort of like get something apparently, which we're going to be finding out. Looks like we're going to have to find our little brother who got himself lost in the forest. So let's hope nothing bad happens to our little brother, because when it comes to hometowns and little siblings, it ends up not ending up too well when it comes to the Tales of series. So let's see if we could hunt down our little brother as quickly as possible.
Gone to the cape to pick flowers.
Especially considering that we just gave him some medicine and he needs to heal, he needs to recover. Let's see if we can find him real quick over here. Also, the little skits of the side thing, like, it's kind of I've always liked that. Like, they're like side conversations to sort of like allow the game to breathe as you're going through the gameplay. Like, it does sort of like help out in a narrative sense here, but I think, I don't know. And victory quotes that aren't in a rise, that's a different topic altogether, which, honestly, I don't think I want to go into a little bit here, because we're kind of seeing a little bit of a cutscene here where Velvet sort of like shows how much of an older sister she is and how she is protective of her younger siblings. So she's a good older sister. She's one who takes care of her family. So it's nice to see, and it's a nice way to sort of establish Velvet a little bit. And I think... Oh, this is the first time we hear her theme. Let's get the count going. This is the first time we hear Velvet's theme in the game. And you're going to be hearing this theme a lot. I'm going to say this right now. I mean, of all the character motifs, I think this is really good, especially considering how you hear it in later on in the game, but you do hear this theme a lot. So I hope you like Velvet's theme. If you don't like Velvet's theme, then that's a different story altogether, but I don't mind hearing it. But sometimes the abundance of it being played over time, it does get a little bit... It does feel like it's a little bit much, if I were nitpicky a bit. But overall, it's fine. And especially for like the moments where it really starts to go wild, like that's when it starts to get really, really good. And I think we'll be getting to that, I think, tomorrow. We'll see.
Good. It's off to the cape then.
Alright, so gameplay-wise, we just went through this dungeon and beat up some prickle boars. What are we gonna do for our next part? Let's go to the same dungeon and this time avoid some prickle boars. So, I mean, gameplay-wise, we're kind of just doing the same thing that we just did 10-15 minutes ago, minus a couple battles to ease us in. But hey, we're just easing ourselves into the tutorial, but Again, in marathon perspective, it does feel like we're kind of doing the same thing twice in a row. It is a bit of a start, that's for sure. You do like Velvet's theme. It's a nice piano piece. Yeah, it's a pretty good piano piece, definitely, and it certainly did start to sell the game a lot. I definitely remember when the demo came out, that song was playing a lot for when you highlight it in the PS4 menu, but also when you finish the demo itself.
And the same goes for what lies across the sea.
Across the sea? Sometimes I just don't know what you're talking about.
Hey,
An interesting parallel between this game and Tales of Berseria that I noticed is that the way that they present their character themes. In Tales of Berseria, they present their character theme through the... Oh, why is there another bird? Who brought the bird for the question? Who brought the bird over? I bet you... Luffy... Velvet, you borrowed the power from Arthur, did you? Every single time. That's gotta be the same bird. You know what? Let's say this. Whenever we hear that question and that bird shows up, I bet you that's the same bird. No matter what time of... no matter what time, no matter what place in this universe, it's always going to be the same bird. I think that's what it's going to be throughout this entire playthrough. And I think that bird does show up a lot in whenever that question is asked, now that we think about it. But anywho, we got ourselves our boss fight here. I don't think we really have to do much here because it's very scripted, and we just have to sort of like play it in order to get a feel for the battle system again and to see how underpowered we are. So alright, so we got a Blood Wolf right over here. Let's see if we can sort of play around with it a little bit. Quick step left and right, left and right. Don't let your feelings get in the way, Luffy. Let's do a little bit of attacks, and we know that we can do 0 damage. We can't do anything with this thing. Even if we try our Searing Edge, Hidden Art. Get hit a little bit, and I think the battle should move forward soon. Let's pick up our soul while we're here, and there you go.
It's just like Arthur said. But I have to do this!
Go, oh! That's a pretty rough hit. Well, at least you're protecting your little brother. There's no way he's gonna get damaged at all. Wait. No, kid. You're still recovering from a certain illness. This is probably not the best idea you had. Your older sister... Ow! Oh my gosh! What is this? There's no holds barred here. We're hitting kids and we're hitting their... Jeez, this is really not good. That was a very bad idea, Luffy. Why did you think that was a good idea? I get it that they're family, they protect each other, but you should have ran. You should have ran, Luffy. Anywho, it looks like we got a... That was the reason why Luffy went to the shop, but thankfully we got our usual anime save right there at the very end. Thanks to Arthur, Velvet and Luffy are safe. Well, that certainly set the standard for more about the relations between these characters, that's for sure.
How did I get home?
Velvet!
Luffy!
Hey, everything's okay. Our family is back together again.
Sorry. It's all my fault.
No.
Oh, it's
If
okay.
you weren't there, there's no telling what might have happened to me.
Oh, that's sweet. The relationship between Velvet and Luffy is that you could tell that the two are very much together right to the very end.
Right? You've got beautiful hair. It would be a waste if you didn't take care of it.
Oh, I didn't know there's a rat pig in the corner there. Did anybody see that? Like, it was sort of like hanging on a shelf there at the corner. That's kind of cute.
A new world. A world where my sister can be happy.
It's kind of like nice to see the relationship between Velvet and Luffy set being very much established at the beginning of this game, and it's now time for everything to start to become a little bit different from what we've been seeing over the past 30 minutes or so.
Night? What's going on?
I hope you liked all the happiness that happened at the start of this game, because that's pretty much the end of it. It's over now. This is where things are going to change up, essentially. Alright, so let's push on forward here now that we have Laphicet's comb. What the heck is going on? Why is it so dark? Why is it the Scarlet Night? Why are there wolves standing on top of that beautiful roof? Oh no. Everybody. What's going on? Why are there so many wolves? Let's get out of here. This is just like the beginning of the game where just like the anime cutscene. Where's our little brother? Let's go hunt for him. This is not good. The only thing this scene is missing is like the town bell.
What on earth is going on? This is no time to be scared.
I will never forget the town bell. Fantasia with the town bell. Oh my goodness. What is going on here? What? How? Who? Huh? Let's see if we can try to run away as much as possible.
Village.
Oh, this is really not good. Oh no. All these people that I've known since the very beginning. Oh no. Yeah, honestly, again, this scene is missing a town bell. Then we're gonna really get the reference, but I don't think they're rich enough to afford a bell. I don't think Arthur can provide that for them. Okay, well, this is weird. Let's see if we can try to figure this out. So let's go through this dungeon a third time. And I say dungeon very loosely because again, dungeons are either the field or very particular looking places, and even then, like the dungeons here are okay, but it's the way that you traverse between them both is very similar. So you're not gonna get like an overworld map or something like that. When it comes to the transition of losing overworlds, a part of me does kind of miss it, but I get it and wants to be more like modern JRPGs to appeal to the crowd that it's trying to appeal to. So, like, I get it, but there's still a part of me that misses the old cutscenes and what. Not the old cutscenes, the old overworlds from back in the day. That's just me.
Velvet!
You.
Oh, thank goodness. You kept Laffy safe, didn't you, Arthur?
Oh, here it comes.
One more sentiment to cast.
I remember the moment when this cutscene was revealed in the localization, and I remember everybody's reactions. But let's bear in mind that I'm pretty sure the reason why it was changed is because of the ESRB ratings. ESRB ratings are very much different than the 0 ratings in Japan. So there's things that video games can get away with that in Japan compared to North America. Like, if we think about shooter games, like first-person shooters, even they can't get away with stuff like this. Like, mature rated games, they can't get away with what they're doing right over here because it would really disturb the ESRB ratings that they established. If you're going to refer to movies, movies have a different rating system, so don't bring up movies. This is video games. Video games have their own rating system. So, it's like, it's a weird, stupid narrative that came up, in my opinion, because, you know, that's a whole different kind of worms altogether, but ultimately the key to this is that, like, the ratings are different between both countries, so be mindful of that before making assumptions. That's all I'm gonna say. But basically, what they did here was fine to sort of establish what they're trying to do, and you still get the idea of what's going on here. And I think it's still like the vocal like minority there, but you still get the general gist of it. And to be honest, I think this is a little bit more like intense, I want to say, compared to the act of what happened in Japan. Like, I think I kind of like the way this was presented a little bit more, because it sort of like supports the whole fantasy aspect of it. But again, losing the effect of the actual sword plunge or what have you, but it doesn't hurt the scene at the end of the day. Those who will know are probably those who dug into it in the first place or are hardcore Tales of fans. Like, casual fans won't notice that at all.
Nothing can save him now.
Oh, Christina V. It begins. It begins here when she starts to when the scene starts to become for Velvet, where she becomes more emotionally driven and like very, very distressed by everything. Like, Christina V really does a great job with what she's doing over here. And I guess for like a personal note for myself, it's like, oh man, I remember back in the day when Christina V used to do all those Haruhi covers, like the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, for those who know. Like, it's kind of cool to like see her evolve from like doing those fan covers and videos and whatnot to this. It's cool to see the evolution of it. Same with like Rina-chan for Edna in Zesteria, and Little Karibo in Zesteria as well. If you all remember Little Karibo, but anywho. It's really cool to see, like, Velvet grow, Christina V grow alongside Velvet with regards to her voice acting career and this game. There you go. That's good. That's good. You know when I keep saying that's a good line? That's a good line. Like in Eternia, you pretty much might as well say that a lot of these lines are delivered pretty well. Yeah, EDM. I know the feedback. I know what I hear. There's just a lot of mumbo jumbo, to be honest, for me. At the end of the day, we gotta think about the severity of this too. Velvet just lost her freaking arm. She lost her arm because of Arthur here. It's insane, like how sudden the tone shift gets into this game. But it's the reason why she has that arm, whatever that is. Looks like it could be a good snow scraper, ice scraper if you're in Canada. Shout outs to all Canadians. You all know what I'm talking about. We're getting to that season again. Anywho, this is gonna be the last we're gonna be seeing of this dungeon and this prologue here. So let's wrap it up with this crazy thing. Like, holy smokes! Like, see how instant that was? She's a pro with that claw already.
That feeds on demons.
I really don't like the sudden shift of tone of Arthur. Everybody takes a shift of tone here. What's happening? What is going on? Why is this happening? Aetherian? No, your name is Arthur, not Aetherian. Arthurian would be the style that like Berseria pushed forward. Anywho, let's get this going here. Go off, Christina V. Any point in time now. There you go. Alright, see ya, EDM. So yeah, so here, this is like a good premonition to the start of Velvet's gameplay. Keep mashing buttons and you'll be good. Nothing bad's gonna happen as long as you keep mashing, and this is gonna be the start of it. Especially we're gonna be unlocking the powers soon enough. Good work. Very good work. Honestly, like, again, you're gonna be hearing me say that a lot, especially after going through a game like Tales of Eternia. Like, the voice work on this game is fantastic. It's really, really good compared to what we first went through. And again, I can keep ragging on Eternia a lot. Like, it's a product of its time at the end of the day. Like, it was a product of its voice acting times, but this game certainly had very good voice acting to compare. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. This was messed up too. Not Nico, not Rose. Oh no. This is
Light has spread through the village.
What is going on? Why is this happening? Arthur, what have you done? I like that shot.
As an exorcist.
As much as we ragged on about the mocap, like, of how it started off with Dawn of the New World, it definitely was required to get to scenes like this. Like, they definitely got much better with the mocap in the series. And there's a million things going on here. What is happening? Like, who is this? What is...
Ceres.
Wait, how do you know? How... Oh, I guess Arthur didn't mention Ceres a while back, but... Man, who are these people? Pick up the comb! Why is she taking the comb? And what day is it today? And why do birds fly, Velvet? Where's the bird? Where's the bird? Okay, the bird doesn't show up this time, but... Oh my gosh. We're in the prologue and we heard that question 3 times already.
The sin is mine to bear.
Dawn needed to walk so that games like Berseria can fly. If we're gonna keep it like thematic here with that discussion. Anywho. Well, you all know what you're thinking. I know what meme you're thinking.
I will make you pay.
And so starts the descent of Velvet Crow. As we put a lockdown on that chapter, let's move on to a new character now. Well, it's been fun knowing Velvet. Maybe we should learn about some other characters here. Like, first our EXP level up here, and yeah, battle difficulty, we're now in hard. The thing about battle difficulty is that in hard mode, the health that you get restored is gonna decrease, and yeah, HP gets increased. There's not too much of it, essentially. And now we get this other character. No, it's still the same character. Like, years have passed. Like, we went through 2 time skips, and we're not even like an hour into the game. So, yeah, there's just... Now Velvet is angry. Now Velvet is pissed. Now Velvet just wants to keep killing demons just for the sake of surviving, I suppose.
My brother's vengeance.
And this is going to be the motivation of Velvet for the entire game at this point. When this game was like adapted in the Berseria portion of Zestiria the Cross, I thought it was going to be like 1-for-1, as I'm sure many of us did when we watched the Zestiria anime from back then. But when we look back at this, and when I look back at this particularly, there were some odd changes that happened from this game and the anime, and I'll definitely comment on them as we go on, because since this was the portion where the anime was adapted into, it was kind of weird. But if we talk about Zestiria the Cross, I'm pretty sure I'll have more opportunities to speak about it, because Zestiria the Cross is a weird adaptation. But I personally like it because it's weird, but I know it's weird. Zestiria the Cross, it's like, if you're a fan of the games, if you're a fan of Zestiria, you're probably not going to like Zestiria the Cross. But if you're not a fan of Zestiria the Cross, you might like Zestiria. No, I screwed it up. If you don't like Zestiria, you're gonna like Zestiria the Cross. If you like Zestiria, you're not gonna like Zestiria the Cross. It's really weird. But anyway, we've got our next battle tutorial right over here. This is what I was talking about before, when you can like quick step attacks and you can gain soul from them. So that's pretty much the gist of that. And oh wow, don't those attacks look a little bit familiar? Let's see what we can do with this here. I don't think there's anything too particular to worry about, but Ceres here can hurt us pretty badly here, so you just gotta be careful. Mix in a... Oh yeah, you know what? This fight, you can't change your art, so if you had set up your Searing Edge prior to this, you won't be able to use it. You can only use the martial arts that were preset in the prologue. But yeah, this is our way of getting used to the battle system again. The game tells you about quick stepping. Again, if I was complimentary of this game, the tutorials here, how they ease you into mechanics by demonstrating it in battle, is a good thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, and considering how Arise, the demo, allowed you to sort of see how each character operates, it would be nice to see if they would bring that back as well for the main game. I would hope that they do, because this is a really good feature to have, like, constantly being shown the new mechanics and pushing forward with it. Okay, this is the one thing you gotta watch out for, Photon Blaze. Speaking of Ceres and her attacks, there was a Raise event where Lila and Velvet were in the same scene, and I love Raids because it has very cool references and whatnot. If you're a hardcore Tales fan, no matter which game it is, you're always going to be treated well for some very good fan service. So when you hear about Lila and Velvet sharing a scene, that's all I'm going to say. I would definitely recommend looking into it if you have the opportunity.
Why are you holding back?
You noticed.
Because I was teaching you how to quick step, Velvet. Congratulations. You now know how to play Tales of Grace's F.
Be so weak as that.
I am his Moloch no longer.
Alright, so again, more things suddenly thrown at us. This individual, Ceres, is apparently a Moloch and now doesn't want to be associated with Arthur anymore. Or, I guess, now known as Artorias. And here she's going to give us our background dump. I'm glad we're going to get some exposition so that we could... What, Velvet?
Tell me where Artorias is.
Velvet, we need some exposition here. Let her explain.
Find him in the capital city of Logris.
There's so much that happened. We need to know some background here, Velvet. You can't just say that. We need to know what's going on here.
Stop to listen. I can tell you what it was you saw that night.
Alright, now you can tell us? Alright. Now you got Velvet's attention.
The ritual he performed shifted the very course of the world.
Alright.
A host of Malachim descended, and with their strength, the emergent exorcists quelled the demon tide. Now, he serves as leader of the Exorcists' Abbey, an institution that enjoys the unconditional faith of the kingdom and public. A shield to guard the people and a sword against demons, Artorias Colbrand, the world's savior.
So this is where we learn a lot about what has happened with Artorias, essentially. He basically, over the second time skip that we've seen within the first hour of this game, he has now become like an institution, I like to say. Like he created this organization that basically leads the world in hope and prosperity. So we're gonna have to have a word with Artorias regarding this, because we just lost our little brother that we so loved, and we need to get out of here instantly.
I don't care what the world thinks of me. What matters is my vengeance against Artorias. That's all.
That's not gonna get old, by the way. Velvet here, she is very dead set on getting revenge on Artorias. The bright and happy Velvet we all knew and loved when we were hunting down prickle boards and everything, that Velvet is gone. We will never see that Velvet ever again.
We must hurry.
Okay, that line I think was also in the anime. I still don't get that line. Shatter your yoke. I'm being nitpicky right now. I get it, but there's a bit of an awkward line to hear. But in any case, after our yoke has been shattered, we now have learned Swallow Dance, and we got some glass sights here. Glass sights are items that you're gonna pick up throughout the game that will help unlock this game's battle system as we keep going here, and we'll definitely need to unlock them as we keep going. Not really battle-wise, I like to say. It's more so they unlock features within the equipment and whatnot. So we're going to be heading over through Titania. This won't be the first time we'll be going through Titania. I'm going to spoil that right now, because this place is practically our dot. This place is practically our place that we're going to be seeing multiple times throughout this entire game, and you better know how to navigate this place, because if you don't, you're going to get lost, because this place is huge and gigantic, and you better know where you're going. You better know where you're going. So first off, we got Velvet in our party over here, looking, well, it looks like she needs a better set of clothes. So let's see if we could update her outfit here, because I'm pretty sure it's the exact same outfit that she wore way back when in the prologue.
Raised the alarm.
I can see that.
Take what you need from here.
Alright, let's see what we could pick up. Good thing we had that church chest tutorial at the beginning, so our equipment should be picked right over here.
Rope. This will be useful.
I hope so, because I don't think... what happens later, I don't think she's gonna use it.
Stormhowl. What is it doing here?
Wow, you seem fascinated by that
It's too
blade.
big for me.
You're not taking it? It's a celebrated masterpiece.
Well, why don't you take it, Sarah? She even like goes off on it in the anime too. It's like, Sarah, you sound like you really want this sword. Like she really wanted the sword for some reason. But this is our updated outfit of Velvet. I mean, I guess, I don't know. Clearly, you're designed as a JRPG character. Alright. I'm glad you got the cape, though. The cape's pretty cool. Alright. We got our first encounter with the Abbey. And we now have Ceres in our party, kinda. She doesn't have HP or anything, but she can use art similar to the Fire Seraph Lila from Berseria. And also, she can also heal you. So, you know, when Berseria is talking about, oh, we got seamless battles, and transitions and whatnot, you kind of see it here with this game too. Like, Berseria really borrows a lot from Berseria that I think a lot of people weren't particularly keen on, because they're probably most likely distracted by the narrative and the free camera movement. Like, I didn't even notice it either when I played through this game. Also because, like, it's been 3 years since I played Berseria to this game when I came back to it. But when I played this game and I played Berseria afterwards, it's like, geez, you could kind of see, like, that they took a lot from Berseria into this game. And the camera issues that we've been talking about in Berseria, they still exist in this game. It's just that you can move the camera around to sort of compensate for it. So... yeah, I like they hid the Berseria elements well, is what I'm trying to say. Even though I think from a gameplay perspective, I want to say like Berseria is more interesting compared to this game. Honestly, I think the big thing is just like the break souls, but the weakness system is a little bit easy to sort of take advantage of in this game. But there are moments where you can get punished for it. And especially it's because of, like, getting stunned. When you get stunned, like, It's a stun thing in this game. It's a stun thing in Zesteria. It's also a thing in Grace's F. If you get stunned, you're gonna get hurt really hard, and you will get knocked out. I think that's particularly the one thing that comes to mind with this game. Stuns are bad. You're gonna get punished. You will use a life bottle after you get KO'd.
I might as well pick them up. I'll use every tool at
All
my
right.
disposal.
I think we're at a time where it's time for us to talk about the question. For the question of the marathon, for those who may be tuning in for the first time, the giveaway involves a collector's edition of this game, alongside a collector's edition of the upcoming Tales of Arise, Tales of Symphonia Chronicles collector's edition, Tales of Exilia 1 collector's edition, and the Japanese Tales of Exilia PS3. So to play like Exilia and Symphonia on. So, your question is for this giveaway. Why was Velvet hunting prickle boars at the start of the game? Your timer starts now.
Around the island is off limits now. They say the ground's weak.
Also, there's something I really love about this game. There's a lot of Abby co-workers that talk, that do a lot of small talk. It's like the little things, but it's really relatable. And this is how you're gonna hear about like how you progress. They're just like co-workers talking. It's one of the things I appreciate about this game.
A number of guards have gone missing. It would seem we have intruders on the island. All exorcists break into 2 groups and converge at the front and rear gates.
Understood.
All right.
No one will get past.
Well, it looks like they're starting to hear about a prisoner breaking out. Let's see how far we can stay sharp as we keep on going over here. Wonder who actually wore that outfit. I don't know who wore that outfit. You know what? I think it might be somebody that we're going to be hearing about very soon. It might make more sense when you see it, especially considering Velvet's design. I didn't make that connection until now, but we're going to wait until that character is mentioned, because I feel like it's most likely related to that character, I want to say. That's going to be my guess as we keep progressing forward here with Tales of Berseria. Again, like, to kind of talk more about the gameplay, I do like what Zesteria implements more with regards to the shift between using Seraph arts and armatization and martial arts. You kind of lose that a bit in this game. Like, I mean, it's still there, but it doesn't feel like it has as much of an emphasis, or it's just like straight up mostly carried over into this game. Alright, so we get our first double, well, technically we don't get our first double targets, but if you don't know how to do this, then in the early game, then you won't be taught how to do this until this point. So, otherwise, let's get some Velvet action coming in here. Early game, Velvet is not going to be broken. It's going to be when she gets her special powers when she's going to be broken. And we got a taste of that when we were earlier in the prologue, but we're going to be seeing more of it as we keep going. Something for me that I'm particularly a little bit about is like when you go into the menu, and then like usually what I do after getting out of the menu is it's like hold the guard button, but it's also the same button as like changing your control mode. So I see myself going to auto and I have to press it 2 more times to hold the button again. So it's just a little thing basically, and wow. I'm not going to make many more of the association, but I'm pretty sure you can connect the dots yourself. Alright, well, we're in a bit of a conundrum here. What are you gonna do here, Velvet? With your very long hair? Jeez, Velvet's hair is really long. Like, every single time I see it, that's something I have to comment on. Because, jeez, it goes so far. I'm pretty sure it goes as far as her waist, or even, like, further than that a little bit. But it's cool that she tied it up, though. That's for sure. No, wait, I think it was, like, tied up so earlier when she was in the jail cell before her outfit change. Oh, Velvet, what are you planning? What are you coming up with? You can tell she's like conniving something. She's conjuring something up.
What the hell? You serious?
Yeah, it's also a lot of hair. Well, it looks like Velvet's gonna plan a prison break over here. Everybody's gonna break out. How does she know the logistics of this place already? Did she hear from Saris?
I mean, that pirate Von Eifried's the only one who's ever broken out of here.
Speaking of which, actually, you know what I think how she knew? Actually, you know what I think it is? that outfit Velvet has, maybe it's related to Ifrit. That's my guess. I'm probably wrong in that now I'm thinking about it, but maybe it's related to Ifrit because it kind of has a bit of a pirate motif, I want to say. Maybe it's when they were beating Ifrit up a bit. I don't know. Anyway, that's just a weird speculation I just came up with right now. Maybe it's not related to Ifrit, but it would kind of make a little bit of sense. Maybe not. I don't know. Probably not. We'll see. Anywho. Ceres, do the thing. Cause a prison break. So, you know what? If we're thinking about the logistics of Velvet, knowing the logistics of this prison, what I want to like speculate is that in the opening of this game, you see Velvet jump out from her prison, and you see her with her arm out, which doesn't make any sense at all in like a narrative sense because she never does it at that point, especially when you know like she is still in her outfit from when she was back in the ball. So I don't know when in the opening that's supposed to happen, but basically I feel like maybe that's how she got the logistics. She jumps all the way up, she sees it multiple times, and she jumps all the way back down. Like, I guess she really has nowhere to go.
There I was, sleeping like a sweet baby.
Hello, Shion. Yeah, that's pretty much Shion's voice actress, which is also Silica's voice actress in Shadows of Valentia. Again, one of my favorite Fire Emblem games. In any case, here, our new character here. I remember she was also part of the prison break and whatnot in the anime, but I think both this character and the other character that we run into, they both participate in the prison break at the same time. Oh my gosh, this name! So, when I was doing the reviews of the anime on Abyssal Chronicles, I had to try to transcribe whatever the heck Magilu said for her full name, but she said it way faster in the anime, and I had to like replay it like 7 or 8 times, and I still didn't think I didn't got it at the time, and I definitely didn't get it. But hey, Magilu, her theme. It's certainly it's a particular amusingly jazz piece, but I know, like, the common trope nowadays, people like to say, oh, it's clown music, listen to the clown. Like, yeah, I get it, I didn't recognize the clown music in Vesperia as well, but essentially, like, I do like her theme, at the end of the day. Like, a lot of characters have their own themes in this game, it's a cool thing to sort of, like, bring back. Pardon me as I try to remember where I'm supposed to go next here. Okay, I think I need to head right over here. Yeah, I think it's the right way. Anywho, yeah, like, when it came to that theme, I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. And it's cool that a lot of characters do get their character themes back. I think the only time we had individual character themes for the entire cast, it's weird, because it's kind of like hit or miss. Like, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. Like, they never really commit to the full cast as much. Like, I think the last time we really did theoretically have one, like, was, like, all the way in Symphonia, but I want to say that, like, I mean, like, character themes are, like, they come and go throughout the series. Like, if you look at Destiny 2, you hear that, like, Kyle has a theme, Riala has a theme, Rudy has a theme. In Tales of Rebirth, you hear that Eugene has a theme. I think it's just Eugene, if I reflect on that. And even with games like Exilia, it's only just Jude and Mila that have a theme, and obviously in Exilia 2, Jude has his own theme. And yeah, it's nice to see that there's a Tales game where the full cast has like character themes. It's like, it's cool to see it sort of like return to form in that sense. So like, in the presentation style, there is a lot like with regards to the Tales of series where you kind of see like familiar elements that were from previous games that are brought into this one. Alright, here's our next encounter right over here. And yeah, he's introduced very much differently in this game compared to the anime. Like, little did we know with Season 1 with how much they're going to like change from their source material. It was going to be so little at first, like, that they changed, but then, like, in Season 2, they changed a lot. Like, the way that we encountered this red-eyed demon, swordsman is totally different from what we see in the anime. And here's another case where the camera could get a little bit wonky here. Like, again, like, you can tell if you really played Berseria and if you really, followed how the gameplay went. You could feel that, like, the Berseria sort of corridors, like, showing up here a bit. But I think the designers of this game kind of tried to keep it all widespread a bit, but it still kind of pops in here or there, even when you try to move the camera a bit. So there's still elements of Zesteria's battle system in this game. That is for certain. Anywho, for this guy over here, all we have got to do is just constantly wail on him until his HP is down to 50%. Which is, you're gonna be seeing a lot in this playthrough, where a lot of enemies that we run into, you're gonna be whittling their HP down to like half HP. Are you reviewing them for a set answer, or is it a set for a general answer, or is it a set answer? I mean, as long as you got it, I'm a human, but if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. Like, if you know the general gist of what she's doing it for, then you got it. Like, I'm a person. As long as you don't have it, like, completely wrong, then you're okay. Just make sure you got the general gist of why Velvet was hunting prickle boars at the start of the game. If I get it, then you're good.
He's an odd demon.
But if it's too out there or too, like, out of the ordinary, then it's not good. Like, trust your judgment is what I'm trying to say. They're like little trivia stuff where it's all about knowing the game and whatnot. Also be prepared for this. There's going to be a lot of battles where you're going to be running into 0 EXP. And this battle was okay because, like, with 0 EXP, it's like, oh, you only take down the HP down to half. So it's like, alright, I understand not getting 0 EXP, but there are other fights in this game where if you take down the HP all the way, especially when they take really long, it's not going to give you EXP, and it's a little bit irritating when that happens. It happens quite a bit in this game. Did we save? Hold up. It's been I don't think we saved it all yet. Maybe we should save really quickly here. I think that's one fault of mine that I constantly forget about these modern games, that I should probably save. Because these save points, like, in the beginning here are a little bit widespread, where they're not particularly positioned where they need to be because of where the boss fights take place. So I'm going to do a little bit of backtracking in order to get the save right over here. You're right, that swordsman did disarm himself. It's kind of a little bit weird, but hey, we were able to help out that guy with that sword that we found a while back. See why we didn't bring it to him, or else maybe, you know what, actually he probably would have received it a little bit differently if he were to see us again and whatnot with that sword. In any case, let's keep on pushing forward right over here. I mean, there is retry, that is true. Sorry, like, it's been a while since I played through modern Tales of Games. You know what? Oh, wait, I guess we can't go here. Well, I've never seen that, actually. Oh, wow, that's kind of cool. Anywho, let's actually go through the proper channel here. Yeah, I think we have to head down here, basically. But yeah, I forget that the retry option is a thing. And, well, considering how retry, like, treated me last night, I'm a little bit wary. But I think we should be alright. Let's see here. Where do I need to go after this? I need to head... I guess gotta keep pushing forward, I suppose. I will trust my notes with it. Anywho, we're gonna get over to the next area over here, and we're gonna get to even some more comparisons between the anime and this game, because oh, actually no, we're still a ways to go. Yeah, sorry, I was thinking like we're getting to the boss fight, but I guess not.
We've just about quelled this.
More of these exorcists. This one's going to be a little bit rough, because now you're going to see more of the Zesteria camera kick in, because this area is really, really small. Like, Velvet's cage was pretty small, but this is much smaller. And you're going to see the camera sort of get a little bit wacky here a little bit. Thankfully, I can rearrange it where it's like it's in front, for the front position, but, yeah, it's going to... Thankfully, it's not being too wacky right now, but I remember there were some cases where it's like, oh, the camera's a little bit weird here, but, it's a good thing that, like, the camera doesn't necessarily, move around a lot unless you block. And that's something that I really appreciate about this game, is that, again, you get the free movement, but then when you press L1, the camera hovers right behind your character. But then, like, whether that's good or not, I appreciate it, because, like, a lot of this is more open fields for the most part, but when it comes to areas like this, you do see, you kind of get, like, remnants of Zesteria when you played that game. Combo bonuses. We also picked up a Ventite from the battle before this, where we learned how to snipe charge. Snipe charges is what carried over from Tales of Exilia 2, I want to say. And essentially it increases the guard break, if I recall correctly. Sorry, I'm just I don't want to mix up my games and whatnot. Yeah, sharpshooter's ventite. Yeah, double the effect rate. Okay, so it doubles the effects of the attacks, particularly when it comes to, like, if they have, like, elements attached to it, if I recall correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, of course. Like, I'm just basing it based on my practices that I've done of this game prior to this marathon. So if ever I say something that seems a little bit off, feel free to let me know and we can discuss it. In any case, right over here, we are introduced to Velvet's Resolve. And when I saw this in the anime, it was pretty sick how they were able to animate it. Like, again, I'm not much of an anime watcher, but when it comes to things being adapted, the way that it was presented in the anime, I think, was pretty sick. But the game here does it alright as well. Velvet's here is like, you know what? We're gonna play some Super Mario Brothers. I'm a platformer. Or I guess you could say Assassin's Creed. I don't know. I never played Assassin's Creed, but I definitely played Mario Brothers. It's a good thing she has that giant claw to break her fall, too. A little bit. Let's see how well this works. Well, it just about works as well as it should. At least she tried her best. You're right there? You kind of took a 20, 30 feet fall there. You okay? I'm bad with measurements, but I think it was 30 feet. Measurements are like my weak point. Same with depth perception, but I try my best. Oh, and she realigns her muscles back in place. Yeah, so little things like that. I think they animated much better in the anime, though, but here it's not so bad.
You're strong. I would almost think you made an oath.
There's a lot to this game where it feels like they set up the things with Zestiria as well, where it's like, for those who didn't particularly follow Zestiria the first time, like myself, would sort of like allow like a replay for me for Zestiria, which is what ended up happening. So, like, I really hope like this game with Berseria. I know people like to say like the common sort of assessment of Berseria is that, oh, this game is like so much better than Zestiria, but with the way that this game introduces a lot of Zestiria elements in it, I really hope that like it does entice people to replay Zestiria, because I feel like that game gets a little bit too much flack for what it is, and I think a lot of it is because of well, the promotion and people's obsession with one character, which I understand, I get it, but it's not that game at the end of the day. It certainly wasn't promoted the right way, though. That I can agree with. Zestiria deserves another chance if you've played this game, is what I'm trying to say. I thought it needed another chance. I didn't think I was going to do it, but I did it anyway, and I'm not as hard as Zestiria as I thought I was. Especially after playing this game, which I think, like, I feel like could also be the goal of this game as well, to sort of help out Zestiria's image, I want to say. In any case, here, we're running into our first major guy, which they really made this guy a big deal in the anime. It's like, it was like the end of the first episode for Berseria was like, oh, there's gonna be a high-order guy showing up. But here, it's like, oh, hey buddy, how's it going? Let's go play. Let's have a nice one-on-one, a mono-a-mono, if you would say.
If we can't overpower this one, our end goal was hopeless to begin with.
You're a demon, but still a lady. So I'll show you.
Oh, there was also the cool thing, because in the anime, Oscar here, as we're introduced to, like, this fight happens outside, but Velvet emulates Yuri in the anime, where she throws a rock at one of these guys, and it was really lethal. Like, I loved it. I loved it so much when it happened. It was so good. Anyway, this fight here with Oscar, I think my thing here was to take down both of these folks first before I take out Oscar a bit. I think a remake might be a bit much. I think like having director's cut would be. Oh, hold up. Okay. Director's cut. How can I say this? Like director's cut is such a huge jump from like Tales of Destiny to Tales of Destiny director's cut, but I want to say like maybe a game that sort of is like a port, but gets like little polished things here or there. Like update the camera to be like Zestiria's, and I think it should be good. I think that's the big thing. If it updates the game to have a camera like this game, I think it would be a little bit better received. And you know what? Actually, I think more about it. To appeal to the fans who like Zestiria the Cross, there should be a point in the game where it's like, oh, would you like to play original Zestiria style, or would you like to play Zestiria the Cross style? And then that's gonna be like the thing, because like I know there are people who play Zestiria who don't like Zestiria the Cross. I understand it, but I think that would be the way to get it to sell, like for those who sort of be like interested in those who didn't really like the narrative of Zestiria 1 and like Zestiria the Cross. Even though for me, I'm amused by it for different reasons, but I like the appeal of both narratives as their own sort of entities, I'd like to say. But like, you know, like Leon's side and the regular story in Destiny, I feel like that could be something that could happen with Zestiria the Cross. As long as both versions carry the same gameplay, like if they fix the what's it called, the camera, then I'm all for it. But if they don't do it, then that's a really bad thing. They have to keep the battle system universal and allow the player to choose what kind of narrative they want to play through. So that way it can also attract fans of the anime who were introduced to Tales of Zestiria because of it. So that way they could be like in the place where they're familiar, and then they could see a different presentation of the show that they watched. I feel like that'd be like a good middle ground to give Zestiria a bit of a redemption arc, I'd like to say. Anywho, let's keep going right over here. Like, honestly, my opinions about both entities, like, it would be, like, cool to... Like, I like both narratives. Okay, maybe, like, it's a bit of a... Zestiria the Cross is weird. It changes a lot of the original Zestiria. It's like, what is this? What is the story? And it doesn't feel like... A lot of characters are not really as similar as they were in Zestiria, but if you have the perspective of it being really different, then I'm like, well, it's an amusing way to sort of go super wild with the characters that you're provided, I guess. Also, I remember this scene being showed up a lot in the trailers as well for Berseria. Oh, and everybody went wild with this animation as well. Everybody was worried. I remembered, honestly, knee-jerk reactions are so common in the internet. More so, like, they happen a lot back in the day, but they're more so common now thanks to social media. And I remembered everybody. I hate knee-jerk reactions because they're so big and they're easy to like attract to, especially with like the vying for likes and retweets and everything just to get your opinion out. Your knee-jerk reaction out, I mean to say. But the thing is, it's like, obviously this game was going to be related to Zestiria at the end of the day, so it's just, what do you expect? This game was developed within like a year of Zestiria. Of course it's going to be the same. Same like Exilia 1 to Exilia 2, so I don't know. I just remember everybody going like, oh no, it's the same animation. This game's going to be bad. It's like... Calm down with those knee-jerk reactions, everybody. It's definitely not going to be the same.
Not about to. My form is bound by an oath whose price is my life.
Oh, speaking of which, of the anime, one of the few things that I like about how this scene was presented in the anime, this scene was practically the same, but the song that plays was really, really good. Like, it sounds like a Sheena track. I don't know who fully composed it. I want to say it was Sheena, but I don't want to say for sure. But it was certainly cool to hear that theme, and like hearing how this scene goes, like it's still fine here, but it has such a bigger effect in the anime because of that song. It felt like a God Eater track. It was so good.
I'm just that stubborn of a woman.
But yeah, we learned that Ceres was able to pick up that comb that Lafayette had given us from the start of the game, as we mentioned.
Before my life fades, do it now.
And I think the quote that Velvet says here is very much one for one, but I think like the anime presents it a lot more like with resolve for Velvet as opposed to this one. She's a little bit more like emotional because she the moment that Ceres' mask breaks, she reacts, and compared to the anime, she doesn't react as much.
And the same.
Like, in anime Velvet, she's just like, alright, I devoured you, let's go. But they hid this extra stuff in the game, that's for sure. This game, you can see why Velvet was much more affected by what she was able to realize right here.
Together.
And this was kind of cool to see, like, the difference between the anime and the game. So it gave something for the people who watch the anime, who played this game, they'd be like, oh, wow, they made this differently. But yeah, this is sad too. What is going on here? What is this with this game and seeing so many people move on? Like, what's happening? Jeez, too many familial ties. This is just nothing but a sad family story so far. We don't get to see this either in the anime. I think we only see like one flashback where Luffy and Velvet were kids. That was kind of cute, but all this stuff, all game exclusive from here on forward. Oh, did they change that too? Did they update that as well? Oh, they probably did. Yeah, I saw this before, cutscene before the last time. I think I made that comment, but here it's like, oh wow. I realized I didn't realize they changed it as well for this. It makes sense considering for the localization and everything. Earth in Historia? Well, we'll get into the Earth in Historia as we keep going. But that is a very good point out there for Anywho, we got our staple item of the series, and I remember when this battle was sort of like leaked, I guess? I don't know, it was sort of revealed a bit prior to the Berseria's release. And the tutorial had a bit of a spoiler here because it showed us exactly what we just did to Ceres right there. Tutorial gives us Velvet's most broken mechanic in the game because we just devoured Ceres with the Sorcerer's Ring, our staple. With the Sorcerer's Ring, we wouldn't be able to be using Velvet's Break Soul. This is pretty much the only fight I'm a little bit worried about because you gotta be a little bit conservative here with Velvet since, like, she doesn't have all of her capabilities quite yet. Like, she can get pretty wild here, but because, like, of our level and how we're at the very beginning of the game, it's a little bit... How do I say this? It's a little bit, you gotta play a little bit more conservative here with Velvet. This is the only time where you can pretty much mostly play as conservative, but, you gotta be mindful of, how you play her here. At least early on. Okay, we gotta get a stun here, or else we're gonna be screwed. Do we have any items? Let's use an apple gel just in case. So I hope you've been paying attention to the quick step tutorials. If you don't quick step around these attacks, you're not gonna get any soul back. I mean, you can try to keep going for stuns if you want, but you're gonna leave yourself more vulnerable. But there's our stun. Like, the thing with Velvet that lends to how broken she is, a lot of her attacks lead to stun. And because it leads to stun, that means she's gonna get more soul. And because she gets more soul, she also gets the most broken... She also gets most access to the most broken break soul in this game. The Devourer, as I like to call it. Usually for this battle, though, I want to wait until we have 4 soul before we start spamming Velvet's Devour, I want to call it. But I can't remember the timing for these attacks. But the thing with these fights that I generally do like is that, like, they all have a phase 2, I want to say. With their phase 2, they're able to essentially change up their tactics as you would any other phase 2 of a boss fight. There we go, there we go. Okay, let's get that soul right over there, and let's start using Velvet's beautiful breaking. Go break soul. Depending on the enemy that she attacks, it will determine what kind of attack she will use as her finisher, and also the additional effects to it. Yeah, again, this is pretty much the only fight, again, to be mindful of with regards to Velvet and her break souls. And she's also the only one here. You have to be mindful of not getting wrecked by the enemy. Your hidden arts won't work too, since the dragon here resists fire, but your wind should be fine. Okay, this is bad. Okay, that works, that works. So, moving towards the fire does certainly help bring out a soul or two. Well, sometimes. Let's see if I could get another soul out. Whoa, okay, let's get a Devourer in, please. And let's use an apple gel as well, because I don't want something stupid to happen at the very beginning. Okay. Honestly, again, it's the only fight where Velvet can be a little bit rough to deal with, because she's the only one here and you just started getting introduced to her break soul, and also you don't have too much experience, especially in a hard playthrough. Alright, we got our stun. Okay, let's go full Velvet. Here we go. Here we go. All right, as a little bit of a taste at the end of that battle there of what's to come with Velvet if we continue to play as her. How do I feel about playing as her? Well, I don't want to play as her as much because, again, like I mentioned, she's really broken in this game. It kind of makes it like, keep pressing the face buttons and you'll win, basically, is how this game goes. And it doesn't help that, like, a lot of her attacks have stuns, as I've previously shown.
My regards.
I sometimes wonder if they started work on Berseria knowing Berseria wasn't going to be received well, because I don't think any company would have that mentality of it not being received well. But maybe they might have had that impression the moment that they released Rose, I want to say. Especially with the Alicia DLC. I think the moment when they started to develop the Alicia DLC, they may have had that perspective. I would definitely agree with that, but it's just... sorry, I'm going to get distracted by this cutscene because this cutscene changes in the anime compared to this game, because this one's like, I didn't expect this to happen. Like, Velvet straight up shot a fireball right into Oscar's eye here. That's pretty insane. Compared to the anime, though, it's like, I'm a Therian, and then they all just go off on their own ways. And even, like, Oscar still has, like, he wasn't injured from this encounter. But here it's like, what the heck? I don't remember this from the show. And especially they made the dragon, like, much more of a crazy battle in the anime compared to this game. But, of course, if we're, honestly, like, the only thing I'm going to be pointing out are differences between this game and the anime at the end of the day, because there are a lot of differences, and again, that's why I like Berseria the Cross, because it's different, and it's weird, and I like it because it's weird, but I know a lot of people who like faithful adaptations, they may not particularly enjoy it. Oh yeah, Ageless Moon, yeah, that's the song that I'm talking about. Ageless Moon is so good. Thank you for bringing up the song there, EDM. Like, Ageless Moon is such a good song. It starts up when you hear when Velvet devours Ceres, and then it continues into the dragon fight, and it's such a good song. Like, I'm pretty sure that's Goshina. I didn't look into it myself, but I wouldn't be surprised, because you can hear the chants that you would hear in Sheena's God Eater pieces and whatnot. So this is where we learn about Kasumi Claw. And we're off on a boat ride with our fellow friends here that we've acquired. I think we learned their names already. We already know Magilu, and I think we already know Rokuro. I'm pretty sure he introduced himself. But yeah, I remember, like, it's weird as well in the anime. I'm gonna say weird every single time because it's different. The thing about the anime as well is that, like, they had the battle outside here in the rain, and Rokuro and Magilu here were trying to take down the dragon. Which kind of leads to a weird thing about Magilu, but we're gonna learn about that later on once we get there. But at least with Rokuro, like, it was kind of cool to see some anime action going on there and whatnot. And I think the speech that Velvet gives about her being a Therian was, like, I think it had a bigger impact. Mostly because of the song. Honestly, you can say, oh, does the scene get simpler because does the scene get better because of a song? That's so simple. Well, of course! Songs are, like, as much of, like, cutscenes as everything else. So, like, if you're gonna have a really good song like Ageless Moon, like, it's gonna enhance a cutscene. And, like, I mentioned this before with an Eternia scene yesterday. Like, a song that was, like, missing in Tales of Eternia's localization. Like, I didn't mind the scene, but then when I heard the scene have, like, the original opening song, like, orchestrated, I'm like, oh, this scene became 100 times better. And of course it did, because the song made it better, and it made me more realize more understanding of what's happening with the scene and whatnot. Well, this shipwright went as well as any person without ship experience would have gone about it. I like how we're off on an adventure. We're gonna go off on a ship ride, and then all of a sudden, the next cutscene, they're just knocked out on the ground with their crushed ship. It's a funny little contrast. It kind of reminds me of, like, Looney Tunes thing. Anywho, we're still Velvet. We're still by herself because our other party members are kind of knocked out here. So let's see how well we can do on a 2-on-1 encounter here. And I'm pressing the wrong button to guard, because this game puts the guard button on L1, and the R1 is to change your targets. Anywho, let's see how we can do well here. Thing about this is that these enemies are definitely much more easier to dodge than the dragon that we fought earlier. And if you exploit the weaknesses, once again, you're going to be getting a stun out. So, let's go Velvet Devour. This is how a lot of Velvet gameplay is. Mash the buttons. I'm not saying, like, hey, honestly, if you're not particularly good with battle systems, I'm not saying, like, it's, like, you shouldn't feel bad about it. Like, I know friends who aren't like good at like combat, and I get it. Like, Berseria is a good way to sort of like allow people to get into the series combat a little bit. Like, it's super casual in that sense. Like, I remember the story, like I mentioned this in Vesperia when we started. Like, a friend of mine, her and her fiance, they both went through Tales of Berseria, and she was doing really well in it. And then when she started to play Tales of Vesperia, she died at the tutorial of the first tutorial of that game, because Vesperia is definitely a harder battle system than Berseria. Like, with experiences like that, like, it's okay for you to play Berseria if you enjoy the battle system and it's easy for you. Like, that's perfectly fine. I'm just commentating from like somebody who's played Tales games since like the very beginning, and I'm seeing like the different gameplay styles and whatnot. Like, I can definitely comment as somebody who's gone through the series that the gameplay here is definitely much more easier compared to others, and that's not necessarily a bad thing I want to say, but we just have to be mindful of what happens in the future of the series. I'm just gonna say, and there's also difficulty options too. Like, a lot of these topics that I'm talking about are very hot right now, especially considering how Arise has been talked about online. But for me, I can't really formulate an opinion about Arise until I have the game in my hands and I take the time to play it. Like, that's pretty much me for the end of the day. But I understand the concerns that a lot of people bring up for Arise, and I understand the concerns that they have for Arise that are related to this game. But basically, just play what you want to play, really. Like, I understand, because like the thing is, like, for the hardcores, like, I completely understand as well, because like they have very valid points of what they bring up. But from like the casual perspective, it's a little bit hard to communicate that, because having a good time with a Tales game, or any game in general, like breezing through it easily, it's more so like a concept of how video games are accepted nowadays compared to back then. I feel like there's a bigger discussion to be had, and just discussing one game enough is a little bit harder to cross the bridge to have that dialogue between both camps, basically, because I feel like a dialogue needs to be made at the end of the day. But in any case, we are near here at the Figo Ice Caps. I'm gonna push on forward, and we got ourselves healed by that particular Moloch and whatnot. I would suppose it's a Moloch, since Moloch was able to heal us.
I never said I was human.
Yeah, definitely, Mook. You know what's up. Like, I mean, I get it. I get it from like seeing everything that we've seen, but. And you're allowed to do what you want with your money. If you don't want to buy it after seeing the demo, of course, don't buy it. But in that case, yeah, like, what the? Did anybody see that? that search point only had one gold. What? I've never seen that before. That was a waste of time, and I got distracted so much that it caused me to run into this encounter. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's get out of here. I don't want to deal with that. One gold. Is that the gold that we're going to be using for a bet later on? I'm going to say that's our cannon here. That's going to be using later on in this narrative, that's for sure.
Ties to home. It's complicated.
Oh, then are you really sure you ought to be taking on further debts?
Yeah, you couldn't take damage here either. I want to save that tutorial for later on, because like, if you're in the tutorial, you won't take damage. And I really want to save that for like a bad encounter later, but I got distracted by the one gold that I wasted this tutorial. It's really unfortunate, because that's what happens for like the first battle you run into. How's it going, Exter? Yeah, you get two radically different characters already in your party. I'm looking forward to playing Rokuro. Rokuro is particularly fun for me because of his break soul. I mean, here's the thing with this game. It definitely is mashy. Like, there's no way around it. This game is really mashy, especially when it comes to like knowing your strats for the enemies and how to approach them to just exploit their weaknesses. Again, I would wait until Arise comes out, but my impressions of Arise, it felt like it's a little bit less mashy, that's for sure. Tutorial cancel a new tech. Heck yeah, we're going with tutorial cancel, but I wasted my cancel a little bit too early here. Anywho, oh, look at these things. We're not going to see these things ever again. But I know a lot of people like these cats, especially particularly with the... I just noticed there's a tuna attached to their tail. It's kinda amusing, I suppose. Anywho, these cats are particularly amusing because of their song that they carry with them from Berseria that carries over into this game. And to think someone like Goshina had prepared a song like that. I'm pretty sure that was Goshina, because I think that song is in the Goshina side of the soundtrack. But yeah. Otherwise, I kind of like this game because it kind of like allows me to express my my platformer instincts, because I play games like Super Mario Brothers, like New Super Mario Brothers, Kirby. Like, I'm picking up these coins, I'm picking up these stars just for the sake of it. So you're gonna see me pick up a lot of these cat spirits only because of my innate sense of loving platformers. Like, I'm not gonna use these cat spirits, I'm just gonna do it for fun. Like, it's something that I grew up with. Of course I'm gonna pick up these coins. Like, it's a part of the game experience. So in any case, yeah, these cats, they say puns, and pretty much the only things that it comes to these cats boxes, the only thing that comes to mind is that they don't, this is false advertising. This is really false advertising. I'd like to have a dog. And let's see what this one has. Well, that one is more accurate. Because these cats that show up in these boxes, they give you aesthetic stuff. They don't ever give you anything like related to the battle system, I like to say, so they're not particularly important. So it's not something at the level of like I can't think of an example that comes to mind, but I know there's one or two examples in the series where it does it in the past. But generally speaking, you want to pick these cats up if... Oh, actually, no, hold up. What am I saying? There's one big thing about these cat spirits that it unlocks a super battle later on. Unfortunately, because of this this marathon, I won't be able to fit the super battle in as much as I would like to. There's just too much of a grind in the cat spirits. No matter how much I pick up, there's no way that I can unlock it, because with it, you pick up the cat spirits and you have to unlock the boxes. The amount of boxes you unlock will determine whether you gain access to that secret place. Regarding that secret place, though, the biggest thing about the secret place is that you get to, you unlock your skits, you unlock your anime scenes, but the biggest part is that you unlock a secret battle, like the conclusion of the secret battle, which you really have to grind out a lot of the cat spirits a lot for, which I unfortunately will not be doing. It's just too much to grind out, and I can't fit it into a marathon as much as I would like to, especially considering the callback that that particular fight makes. But in any case, let's move on forward over here, and again, I'm glad that I don't have to press X to keep advancing the cutscenes this time around. So, one thing, again, compared to games like the previous games that we ran into, Tales of Vesperia and Tales of Eternia, I don't have to worry about pressing X every single time.
About earlier. I didn't mean to steal this.
The compass.
I remember the emphasis of this compass in the past. I think like a lot of people back then when this game was being promoted were saying like, oh, this compass is really important. And then there was like one cutscene where they just threw it off. We all thought this compass was going to be some kind of super MacGuffin thing, but it ended up not being the case. Like, it just ended up being like a random compass. I think like a lot of us were expecting like, oh, this has to be like the secret, the key to Canaan or something, but it's not. It's just a random compass. But I do like how they tried to emphasize it back in the promotion of this game. But yeah, we've been seeing that Moloch for a while. That Moloch, in particular, ended up being one of my favorite parts of this game, because I definitely like that Moloch's growth throughout this narrative. He ended up, like, that Moloch definitely became like my highlight of this entire narrative, that's for sure. Yeah, we also thought Appleseed. There were a lot of things with the promotion of this game, where it's like we thought it was going to be something major, but it ended up being something supplementary for the relationships of this character, of the characters at the end of the day. The apple could mean that it could be the start of everything, of how Velvet reflects. Like, no. I didn't look too much into the theories, but I remember seeing some of them. And I'm like, man, we're going really well with this new Tales game, huh?
Looks like the boy got away.
Well, we're in the city now.
I didn't do the Hysteria bonus dungeon, so now I understand why people are going super wild about an apple. Okay, that makes sense.
And we could use a true.
Are we talking about the one where it's like you fight the cameo battle, or is it like an entirely different one?
dodge the sea's murderous.
Because I don't remember an apple
We're
being
supposed to
talked
sail
about
up
there,
the
though
road.
maybe I might have been too distracted by the boss fight.
We should look for some weapons too, if I'm to be any use in a fight.
You're still wearing one.
Nope, not an option.
So, here's the thing with this character, Rokuro. He doesn't want to use a sword on his back. I remember making that comment before when I first watched the anime. It's like, why aren't you going to use a sword on his back? But there is a storyline reason to it. And while we're picking up a lot of money from the beginning, I'm not this lucky with money, even though we still got that one gold. Like, this run, we're going really well with the money pickup so far. Like, the thing about those search points that we run into along this game here is that they're random. In my previous practice, I got, like, a lot of materials, which are good, but I'd rather have money at the end of the day. Because money is certainly important compared to, well, the tarnished silver coins are bad, but they only really give, like, 10 gold, because you're going to be running, like, really tight with regards to your budget here, especially considering how the equipment system is handled in this game. But, yes. On the beach? Okay, yeah, I don't know that one. I didn't dive too deep into my revisit of Berseria this year, because I was more so playing to sort of, like, understand how this game's narrative connects to Zestaria's narrative, and how both narratives are connected to, or not really connected to Zesteria the Crossed. Anywho, let's see if we can gather some intel.
Damn that dial! What does he think he's doing by trying to resist? We wouldn't be in this mess if he were dead.
Excuse me. I need a ship repaired.
Sorry,
Yeah,
we can't
we're not quite
makes you
the best pilots of ships, but please repair a ship because we're gonna try again anyway.
By the order of Exorcist Teresa of the Abbey.
Oh, there's our good little buddy, and their other little buddy, and their other buddy.
Number 2. Did I give you permission to speak?
Hey, that's not nice. This little buddy healed us.
Lady Teresa.
Well, there's gonna be a running theme throughout this game, like the treatment of Molochs with the Abbey. It's a little bit pushed on whenever the Abbey shows up. Like, I get it's the point, but it's a little bit unfortunate to see, especially when you consider particular characters that we run into throughout this game. One character in particular that I cannot wait to meet once we get to him. Like, I did not care about that character when I was first introduced to him, but when I started to see him here, I was like, wow, you actually are a character. Like, I feel like the character that they have here, I felt like I cared about him a lot more here compared to when I first heard about him. We talking Elle? Is it Elle's voice actress? If it's Elle's voice actress, I never noticed.
Aren't you cold dressed like that?
I've just arrived.
So that's really cool. All right, that's really cool. I liked Elle's the voice actress's work in Tales of Exilia 2, because like I think Elle is probably one of the most legitimate childlike characters in the series. Because a lot of these childlike characters, like, you can talk ages all they want. Like, the target audience are like teenagers at the end of the day. That's the target demo. So they make their kids to sound a little bit more like young adults or something along those lines. So to hear like an actual child character with Elle was very refreshing. And for those who are annoyed by Elle, well, well, that's the point. Like, she's a kid. Of course she's gonna be annoying. Like, I really do like Elle as a character in terms of how she is portrayed as an actual child. For those who have dealt with children, you all know what I'm talking about.
He's a demon. He escaped after killing a bunch of soldiers who tried to capture him. Can't be done without an exorcist.
Brina Palencia. Okay, I've heard that name here or there. I'll be honest, I don't know too much about like the modern pool of voice actors because, like, again, like I don't really spend too much time playing later games and JRPGs as well with like watching anime. So I'm only just like limited to like what I understand from like the progression of voice actors through Tales of games. So it's cool to hear that Brina Palencia did play both of them. I thought it was Wendy Lee, but see, that's just me having a reference point of like old voice actors, so please don't mind me with those kind of like dated references, I suppose. Anywho, we got Rokuro here. Yeah, you know what? That was a good point for about why did Rokuro throw those other weapons away? I guess it's the sole purpose of gameplay. We still need to get used to Velvet because introducing two characters at that point would have been a little bit, may have like messed with the progression a little bit.
The weapon is yours as payment. My thanks.
So you'll help us out.
Of course.
How did your errand
I think there's some important things I need to do here prior to leaving, that's for sure.
So we're hunting a reptilian demon.
But we're now going to have Rokuro in our party. I'm looking forward to playing as Rokuro. I'm looking forward to... again, I'll be honest. I look forward to playing as any other character compared to Velvet. Rokuro, particularly, his Break Soul we'll be learning about shortly. It's all about countering attacks. So you time the attack similarly as you would with like a sidestep or something, but instead of sidestepping, you restore your HP as you would any other Break Soul. You pierce through the enemy, and you also restart your chain again from the beginning. So you restore your soul to do that. Hold up, there's some equipment that I'm gonna have to upgrade here first. It's gonna be like an issue for me with regards to this playthrough, dealing with equipment, because dealing with equipment in this game, you're not going to be approaching it similar to like Tales games like something like Eternia or the older ones. I can't use Vesperia as an example because that equipment system is also very different. What we want to do first, I don't think we're going to do much for equipment just yet because we don't have the tutorial to sort of explain it. But what I do want to do is that I want to equip the, purchase the Amber Garment right over here, and see if we can get ourselves to level 2 as fast as possible, because I want to get to level 2 for one particular item that we're going to pick up right over here. We're going to get the Wondrous Ventai, which increases our movement speed by 10%. This is the first time that we're going to get a movement speed upgrade from the store. The other upgrades that we're going to pick up are based on battles that we encounter along the way, or whatever events we run into. Also sell these items right over here because they have no other purpose than to be sold. The ones that have the pouch icon, you want to make sure you sell them. But yes, we now have Rokuro in our party. I'm going to swap it over with Velvet over here. Rokuro's chain here, the only particular one to be mindful of is the hidden art Fire Burst. Like, I do like playing as him because, like, again, besides the obvious joke of not being Velvet, the only other thing is that, like, he has that counter break soul, and with the resets that you do to your chain after, doing your break soul, it does lead to some flexibility with this battle system. They used her voice a lot in the early 2010s. Yeah, I don't watch Funimation or things like that. You know, one anime that I would like to watch is Psycho Pass, but that's another different time and place because I don't want to spend money on a Funimation subscription. I don't watch anime. I don't need it. Anywho, anime aside, always remember when you're leaving this place, make sure to go through the ladder here because if you don't remember that, you're going to find yourself constantly going to the doors and being reminded, wait, we can't go through there. Let's use the warehouse. So always remember you need to go through the warehouse here at this point in the game to leave Helavis. Yeah, I really want to get around to Psycho Pass. I only watched the first 2 or 3 episodes. Anywho, let's push on forward here through the Figgle Ice Caps. That's the thing with this old game is, well, this... Did I say old game? Well, I mean, this game is 5 years old in Japan and 4 years outside of Japan, so it is technically old. But the thing about these modern games, like, something that I'm still not conditioned to, because the last games I played prior to the marathon were, like, Tales of Fantasia on the PS1 and Tales of Vesperia. So when it got to the marathon, when I tried to get reassociated with the old games again, I played Eternia first, and then I played this game. I'm like, wait a second, why do I have, like, navigational points and things telling me where to go? Like, that's one thing that it certainly helps holding your hand to know where to go next, essentially. And especially when you are constantly introduced to a lot of fields and whatnot, the absence of world maps and everything, you know this is a modern Tales of game when you see these elements come together.
Thank goodness I was here. But any further attacks and...
Yeah, 5 years for this game, 4 years for Tales of Berseria outside of Japan, 2 years for the Vesperia Definitive Edition, and I want to say 1 year for Crestoria if you want to count that.
Crying? It's just... everything that's going on.
Speaking of voice actresses, shoutouts to our resident voice actress Tales fan, Erica Mendez. I was happy to have done the interview with her for Abyssal Chronicles as my final parting gift for the website before I left. But yeah, it was cool to know that she's like a hardcore Tales fan. Her first game was Tales of the Abyss, and she played a bit of Vesperia. She wanted to play more of the Tales of games, but she definitely got, like, from our interview, she definitely got around to playing this game, and she definitely played as herself. It's like, that's like the dream right there. One of the true Tales of dreams if you are following your career choice. Like, if you get to contribute to something that you really like as a hobby, it's one of the dreams, basically. So it's really cool that Erica Mendez essentially got to live that dream out with this game.
Worry not. We will track down that foul demon.
And it's cool too, because like, I also like her character. I like her character design. It's pretty sick. And also, I do like some of her gameplay style. She's like an upgraded Alicia in a sense, but her break soul adds to a little bit more capabilities, I like to say. And I also didn't mind playing as Alicia as well.
Yeah, she's gone.
Oh, good. I didn't want us to get eaten.
What do you mean? You're all children.
I don't know anything about a demon.
Oh,
It's
wait.
fine, you can tell me. I'll keep it a secret, I promise.
You know what? I forgot about this town, and I forgot about the emphasis of it, but it's been a while since I've seen the cutscenes. I've done a gameplay practice of this, but it's been a while since I've seen the cutscenes. I like to say it's been maybe, if for Eternia for me, it was 3 months. For this game, it was 2 months I've last seen the cutscenes, I want to say. But, oh guys, here, it's the most important item of this game. Just as important as the compass that we ran into. But it is a bit of a reveal the moment that we start to understand what the purpose of this apple is. Particularly, it's not too far away that we start to realize it.
Do they? This is actually rather good.
Look at that frown. That's actually really... it's been a while since I've seen that. That's actually a really sad skin image right there. That's actually some genuine sad emotion right there you can see from just taking the bite. Oh wait, I'm glad they're not wormy apples. Oh my gosh, remember from Tales of Destiny? Wormy apples, they're basically your holy bottles. Oh man, that's a bit of a throwback right there. Anywho, we're here at Beardsley. There's really not much to do here. Again, for the purposes of this marathon, we're definitely going to be avoiding skits and those sub-events you see over there. Sub-events are marked by those exclamation points. So, for the purposes of this marathon, we're just going to fit this game within 3 days.
It's nothing fancy.
Cutscene percent, I'd like to call it. So here's a tutorial for cooking. I don't really have too many comments about the cooking on this game. It kind of reminds me of like other cooking. It feels like a return to form, especially when you think about games like. Well, actually, it kind of reminds me more of the Exilias. Actually, the more that I think about it, it reminds me more about the Exilias, which is kind of like derived a bit from. Wait, why did I mention the Exilias? No. It doesn't remind me of the Exilias. The Exilias is, you can tell it's been 7 years since I last played the Exilia games, but. For the Exilias, if I recall correctly, you buy the food yourself. You don't actually prepare the recipes with the ingredients you have. And in Berseria, it kind of borrows that a little bit where, besides the snack preparation made by Lila and Edna, you also get recipes prepared whenever you sleep at an inn. That's where you can get like a marble curry bun. But with this game, they kind of bring back like the whole recipe system that we last saw in terms of the series progression in Tales of Fantasia Narikiri Dungeon Cross. So it's kind of cool to sort of see this. They also bring back the auto cook settings, which was a thing in Tales of Berseria. So it's cool to not Tales of, well, obviously in Tales of Berseria. What I mean to say was Tales of Eternia, the previous game in the marathon that we just finished yesterday. Like, it's cool to see that they bring back the auto cook feature as well. So a lot of things that they essentially are sort of shouting back to previous games in terms of like the menu mechanics, I'd like to say, and some cute little cameos here or there.
Just because you ask doesn't mean you're getting an answer.
So, about that whole apple thing, you can't taste anything?
Rokuro with the line of questioning. Like, so about that whole apple thing, how about that game compared to how it was emphasized previously? But no, we learned something really important about Velvet here. She can't taste anything at all, which is a little bit sad considering what happened previously in the game. At the start, she was a really good cook, so the fact that she can't have taste, again, is more so to add on to the whole huge contrast between how she was back at the start of this game to how she is now. It's more of like how she was affected and whatnot.
Now I don't even have to worry about how it tastes.
I suppose.
It's kind of sad though. It's the little things. That reminds me of what happened like in Symphonia as well. To those who know the affected character of that game, like I think the reveal of that was even sadder because I for one was a fan of the character that it got affected by it, but Here, it still has an effect, but I want to say not quite as much as how it was dealt with in Symphonia. We don't know how to do that quite yet, so let's just head on to our first actual dungeon here. These dungeons, I have this to say, with all the riling that Zestiria has, which I do definitely agree with, particularly the open world field maps, they're really long to traverse through, but the way that they cut it up here in Berseria, they're kind of like the same idea, but it's more like they cut it up in certain sections. So it's kind of like similar to Exilia in that sense, but they're all practically the same
We
length.
might be able to break this boulder.
And people say I'm foolhardy.
I'm serious.
Yeah, of course it's supposed to be
Think we can
different,
do
yeah.
it.
I just
Are we
like
not
how
humans?
it was handled in Symphonia compared to this game. Anywho, let's get a kick in, and let's push on forward.
What's that smell?
Oil?
But yeah, like the length of these dungeons, I feel like they kind of, maybe they're not, they get a little bit close compared to how it was handled in Tales of Zestiria. Even though Zestirias are really, really big, I feel like it's kind of like the same idea where they cut it up into different segments here. Because all of it is just moving around, and we're avoiding encounters here, and just making sure that we get from point A to point B.
We were smelling. Watch your step. You won't get out if you get stuck.
Though there are some points in this game I like to say where it's like, some of the dungeons are particularly interesting. They're kind of good. Not to the level of Tales of Zestiria puzzle design, which I personally like at the end of the day. This game's dungeons, there's maybe one or two that I particularly like, but other than that, there's not much else to it. It's more like more the same when we keep on going and essentially just make sure that we get from point A to point B. So I know everybody who was here last night with Tales of Eternity are gonna be like, "Wow, Panban talking about like missing the puzzles. What about that one for the final dungeon?" And be like, you know what? That was just a very bad time. It was a very bad time with that game at the end of it all. But in any case, I still do miss the old school puzzle design, so that's just my preference at the end of the day.
I still have a long way to go.
What sort of demon are you?
Personally think dungeon plus field, Zesty is better than Berseria, and town, Berseria better than Zesty. You know what? That's a pretty good perspective to have. It's just, what can I say?
I'm a Therian.
I don't know. I never thought too much like from the town's perspective, so that's kind of a cool perspective to have. I don't know. I think I kind of like some of the Zesty towns. Like some of them have some personality to them that I like. I like the tree town. I like the little village where you see one of the trials. It's like it's the cool. I kind of like the whole like approach to them a bit, but there is certainly variety in this one. I like to say, particularly when we get to the one that's like kind of like Italian inspired. Like I like the design of that one for sure, and same with the snow one that we were just at, Helives. Huge improvement to what we got since Exilia. I wish I could comment more about Exilia because it's been years since I last talked about it, but that's interesting. That's an interesting perspective to share. The thing about like the one thing I do remember about Exilia is that like they suffer with that PS3 filter. Like new games that are made for PS3, like Tales of Exilia 1, Tales of Exilia 2, and Tales of Zestiria, and this game. I don't know about this game because I never played the PS3 version of this game, but I know for a fact that Exilia 1, Exilia 2, and Zestiria, they kind of go through that weird PS3 filter, where it's like it makes all the graphics completely dark and like it's like a weird contrast. And like I remember realizing this when I was comparing the footage of Zestiria PS3 to Zestiria PS4, and like the contrast of how brighter and like more of a lighter palette things are on PS4 compared to PS3 is certainly stark, I'd like to say, and it makes me glad to play the PS4 version more than the PS3, even though I also heard some performance issues with the PS3 version when it comes to the draw distance. More to it when it comes to the gameplay and the presentation of the filters. I do like how colors pop out more on Zestiria PS4 compared to PS3. And the Exilia certainly, it would be lovely to see them ported one day so that way they can kind of get that treatment too, because I feel like, I mean, even though like some of the lands did feel a little bit desolate in those games,
but what would a child
if I remember, again, it's been 7 years since I played both Exilias. Like, some of the colors, some of the environments can sort of, like, complement the colors improvement it would have had if it could be ported. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I wish I could have played Exilia prior to the marathon to provide more of a opinionated, like, an updated opinion with regards to discussing those games, but unfortunately, I couldn't find the time to do so. Plus, we were preparing for these 3 games for the marathon after all. Ward point, very important. Make sure you touch those, or else you're gonna be having a bad time if you start to revisit places. Oops, did not mean to play that. We already see too many skips in this game. Anywho, just need to... Yeah, because like the triangle button is relegated to your skip button here. And I just played through Eternia and Vesperia. They both have like the menu button attached to the triangle button. I mean to press the touchpad for that. Okay, I think we should be ready though, I'd like to say. Is there not a save point here? I'm pretty sure there's a save point around here. Am I crazy? I think there might be one in the next screen, I hope. Unless it goes straight to the battle, then that's just a different case altogether. Okay, different case altogether. Thankfully, we do have a retry option that won't screw us over, though. So, let's see if we can push forward right over here. Oh, no!
Did he slip and fall?
I'm just reminded of Patty, like, sneaking up for the sand right there. And, oh, dear. I remember this enemy type.
No, he was thrown in.
So here we have, oh, I forgot. The game likes to push you back to Velvet a lot if they're doing tutorials. So this game really wants you to play as Velvet, and some of these things are very much designed only for Velvet to demonstrate. So what we're gonna do here is follow the combo as listed. Let's see if I am remembering all this carefully here. Now, the first thing that I actually want to do, I want to set some strategy here because I want to make sure. I think Velvet is set up fine, but the thing when I talk about how Velvet is broken, yeah, she's broken if she's played as with the player character, but with an AI, she can't be used at all. Like I don't know what happened there, but anywho, we'll talk more about that later as we make sure we get this tutorial done here. So let's get Tearing Thorn in, and I think the last one was Harsh Rebuttal. Yeah, once it's followed that 3 chain. Basically to teach us about weak point combos. Weak point combos, when hit as shown, will also get like a guaranteed stun as well, and we'll get like a power combo going. So that's the gist of that. But for now, we're not going to be playing as Velvet. We're going to be playing as Rokuro here, if I could switch it properly. There we go. Let me remind myself of what Damon Dial is all about. Weak to fire and earth resist wind. I don't think I have an earth mood for Rokuro right now. So I sure hope that AI Velvet can do it just fine and dandy here. Anywho, so Rokuro here, the cool thing about his break, so once again, it's all about using his break soul to counter, but I'm going to wait until we have 4 soul to sort of play around with that a bit. I'm going to see if I can keep hitting Dial's weak points a lot and also doing a quick step to sort of pick up the souls afterwards. The thing about Dial is that these boss fights early on are going to take a little long here because we're kind of avoiding encounters and not grinding and all that, so that's why we have the double experience on to sort of compensate for that a bit. But basically, because we're a little bit ill-equipped for what the game expects us to be at in terms of leveling and grinding, this battle might go a little bit longer at the moment here. So we're in for the ride here. Hope everybody's doing okay. My voice is a little bit dying out a bit. I'm noticing more as we go through this day, but I'm going to try my best to carry forward to the next break here, because I think we have about 2 hours to go compared to Eternia, where I gave myself longer breaks and everything. So let's see if we could keep this going here. We do have 4 soul. I'm just going to wait until we get to the half HP point where Dial starts to use his break soul, which I think is kind of cool in its own right, because when Dial uses his break soul, when enemies in this game use their break soul, you get a soul back. So it's cool that enemies can use break souls in this game. Actually, pardon me, I'm gonna see if I could get myself something for my voice here. Give me a brief second, actually. Sorry about that, everybody. It's like day 7 of this marathon of constant commentary about this entire series, and it feels like my voice is starting to catch up with me a little bit. But we'll see if we can keep on going over here. Yeah, this boss fight is going to take a bit of time because of essentially how we're underprepared essentially for what the game expects and whatnot. And we also got our prickle boar meat prepared there from the recipe tutorial that we got earlier. I do like the whole cooking thing, particularly I think the only person that you should really be cooking with is Velvet. Because while the ailments are a little bit rough, stun is so common that it feels like it's much better to prioritize compared to the ailments, I want to say. And you wouldn't really know about like ailments unless you replayed the game, and I could explore the other characters, because like depending on which character you prepare recipes with, it really just depends on like how well you know the bosses and whatnot. And I don't think I'll be capitalizing on that too much when it comes to my practice. Anywho, I guess we can show off a bit of Break Soul here if Velvet... You know what? Velvet's actually playing pretty well compared to how I had her like in other practices. She's doing not so bad, to be honest. Okay, let's see if we could get a Break Soul going here. Well, I was expecting a hit there, but AI Velvet's actually being very competent right now. I'm kind of surprised. What is happening? What's going on with AI Velvet right now? She's actually doing well. Now she's just kind of standing there, but okay. Oh no, this is the thing with AI Velvet. Just mash AI Velvet, you'll be fine. You don't have to like play like how you think the AI, how the game designers want you to be played. Oh, AI Velvet. Here, let's get you an apple gel to help you feel better. Keep calm, take an apple gel. Okay, anywho. I think he's at the half HP point, so he can now start using his Break Soul a bit. When he feels like it, of course. Okay, and there's a Break Soul, you get the counter, and we could keep going from there if we want to, but that's the thing with the chain system here. I think I should just make this all Form 1 Fire Burst to capitalize on that right there. But yeah, so there's Dial's Break Soul Helm Splitter, and depending on like which enemy or which player, party member the enemy's targeting, will determine who will get the soul that comes from the Break Soul that's used by the enemy. And that's pretty much like the thing when it comes to this game and the Break Soul system. It's kind of like playing a game of tennis. I use my Break Soul, you use my Break Soul. We just have a rally back and forth of who uses each other's Break Soul. So if ever you want to get more more souls, just wait for your opponent to use Break Soul and continue from there. Or you could counter it with your own Break Soul if you are able to. Also at the same... Oh, wow, we got a double stun there. Also at the same time, when it comes to the Break Soul system and whatnot, what I do want to say about it as well is that, like... While it's cool to sort of, like, play a bit of a tennis match with these enemies, it is sort of, like, I do like in general that, like, all enemies in this game do have their own Break Soul. Like, I like it when enemies you run into that share your mechanics, like, you sort of see where they're coming from and you can work off of it. It's the little things like that I appreciate with games and whatnot. Alright, and we're able to wrap up Dial right over there.
I won't die yet. Not until I have my revenge.
Revenge?
The bastards at the guild who tried to kill me. They want me to take the fall for their smuggling operation.
Wait, are you saying the whole guild was involved?
Uh-oh.
You think a second-rate sailor like me could pull off all
Looks like that guild that we're trying to make goodwill with, all of a sudden it's something not as good as they seem.
He has a point. It would take more than one person to dig that tunnel into the warehouse.
Problem is, our extra-legal activities were a little too successful. The Abbey was bound to notice us at some point.
So yeah, like with this game, like with this battle system, there is a lot of way to pick up soul and whatnot as you go through it. Like, you can do it by dodging attacks, you can do it by getting stuns, hitting weak points, power combos, and letting your enemy do their Break Souls. I guess like the thing about the battle system again, like I mentioned, is that it is very mashy. You just have to like equip the right attacks right away and then like chain it over without too much I guess for lack of a better term, like strategy to sort of like avoid attacks and whatnot. Like I get it. Like I talked about the spiel earlier, but basically it's like it's fine that this game is easily accessible to other players who are more casual, especially when you think about it now, like for those who may be used to like other JRPGs, like, you know what the biggest irony of this all is that like Tales of used to be known as like back in the day when people were like talking about Tales, oh, it's so mashy and everything, but then when they play Berseria, it's like, oh wow, this game is like it's not mashy at all. It's like it kind of makes me confused a little bit, and I think that's like a whole different psychological thing altogether. But I think it might have something to do with maybe like those who review the games, they might have like an easier time with this game. That's for sure, and that might be why they have that assessment. But that's a whole different analysis altogether. And we picked up our first Denora bottle, which lets us get back to the entrance of dungeons and whatnot. And we'll be using those here or there depending on how we feel for time. I do appreciate the Denora bottles because it helps us speed through things essentially, and to get to certain points if I'm not particularly doing well in terms of timing and whatnot. But I think we should be okay. Yeah, no, like, you hit the hammer on the head there, KP. Like, back in the day when it became all about, comparing JRPGs, I felt like there was, like, a standard that, JRPGs were kind of, like, held to, because, like, they're more like, oh, they should be turn-based, or, oh, like, they shouldn't have any action to it, or anything like that. And that's why it feels like the common association with the Tales of series back then is, like, it's always so mashy and everything, and which isn't particularly the case. And then you usually hear from reviewers who probably spend like maybe 10 or 15 hours on it, maybe 20, and that's already pushing it for like those who review games in the first place. So really, reviews are their own different topic altogether. And with regards to that can of worms, I don't really particularly like talking about it because I feel like it's more the same. Just play a game if you like it or not, plain or simple. Like, you can hear opinions all you want, but hey, if it interests you, give it a shot. You might be surprised. You can hear about games, but I mean, you know, just see for yourself if you like the games or not at the end of the day. But I will say this, like, promotion-wise, Bamco is doing a great job with Tales of Arise. Like, they're doing a great job pushing it out, making sure that everybody knows about it. It's on, like, so many Western conferences. Gamescom is a huge thing, for example. Like, everybody has eyes on these games, and I'm seeing, like, people who generally talk too much about Tales of, and then they suddenly see, like, them in conferences. I'm, like, getting messages. I'm getting messages from my friends, and they're, like, saying, oh, hey, Richard, did you hear about, like, Tales of Arise and everything? It's like, yeah, like, what do you think about it? It's like, oh, you know, you could give it a shot if you want to. It's like, oh, I played the demo. It's really, really cool. It's like, yeah, it's like, it's really... like, Bamco, you can say what you want about Bamco. They're doing a really good job with the promotion of this game compared to titles in the past. Like, I think it was a pretty decent job with this game, but they certainly ramped it up for Tales of Arise, that's for sure. You know, Fruam, you do mention Symphonia, but I want to say Vesperia was promoted pretty well. Like, I think, I want to say Bamco was kind of pushing for it a bit. Symphonia, actually, you know what, maybe I'd say Symphonia and Vesperia are on the same level. Like, they kind of were both, like, pushed by their sole companies. I wasn't an Xbox fan at the time, so I don't know how well it was promoted, but it definitely did well based on the results of that game being released. So, Microsoft probably did something with that game, but yeah, compared to what they did for Symphonia and Vesperia, they definitely did a million times better when it comes to this game. Like, this game is huge, really big. Like, Arise, like, in terms of how they're pushing it, like, Bamco is doing an amazing effort in the West. It's kind of like on the same level as how they would push the series in Japan. But to be honest, Tales has been such like a... Hold on, let me see if I remember something here first before I go on that tangent here. I think I need to go... Oh yeah, maybe I should go here first. Actually, no, I think I should talk to this person first. Yeah, like, they're doing a really big really good job with regards to Arise's promotion and whatnot. Like, it's fantastic and it's very crazy to see.
Doubt me all you like, but I brought you the demon's body. Who else?
Was X1 heavily promoted? Yeah, it was decently promoted. The thing about X1 was that, like, it was a good follow-up to Graces. I want to say, I still want to say I think Symphonia and Vesperia, they did a good job promoting it, but there was that one mention of Exilia 1 in an E3 once, so it was kind of pushed. It was kind of pushed in a sense, but I think they were relying on the promotion that was provided from Tales of Graces F, because Tales of Graces F had a particularly intriguing moment where it had like a big promotion about the mystery of it at the very beginning, and then Europe sort of just like carried the flag from there. Like they were able to like bring the sales up because of how well it was promoted from the beginning. But I want to say Exilia 1 did a great job of promotion in Europe. North America, not so much. I guess you could say the same about Symphonia and Vesperia, because like, whereas the other way around, where Symphonia was probably well promoted when it comes to, I want to say both Europe and North America, but Vesperia did not come out in Europe until a year afterwards, so that was a different scenario altogether. Alright, so this is the big thing about this game. Enhancements. They're just as big as they are in Zestiria, but I think they handle it a little bit differently here. You're going to want to make sure you rely on enhancements in between different segments of this game. So you have to choose between enhancing and buying new weapons, because you could enhance your current weapons like from the early game and not upgrade it until like maybe you're like 5 towns down the road. Like, it's pretty cool how they were able to allow the enhanced system to sort of breathe a bit in this compared to buying new weapons and whatnot.
Second nature. You'll eventually learn how to maximize your personal strengths through wise upgrading and dismantling.
It does seem useful.
Right? If you plan to continue your crusade, upgrading may give you the edge you need. Of course, those who are...
Yeah, I apologize if I'm not providing too much commentary as I would like to right now. Right now, I'm kind of like seeing if I can preserve my voice for like the next 2 sessions today and for the next 2 days here on forward. So, please bear with me as we keep on going through, and if I'm not particularly as talkative as I would like to. So, there are things I will comment on here or there as we get through this session, and I hope like in the next part I'll be a little bit more ready to go, I'd like to say. So, just like a ball, we're going to be going back and forth, essentially, in between going from where we were and where we started. So, we're just going to see how things are going to be a little bit repetitive in terms of going back and forth and whatnot. Did something happen to my voice? It's just a bad wake-up call today, that's all. Like, I think after I sleep today, I think things should be okay. I'll take the proper... proper preparation for day 8 of this marathon. I'm glad my voice actually made it all the way here without having a bit of a hiccup. So I knew a hiccup was bound to happen eventually. Maybe it might be all the yelling from that final boss last night. That final boss. I don't want to be reminded about what happened there, but it happened, and we're gonna push forward. Anyhow. Now it's time for us to return to our grounded ship, which is all the way at the other end of from where we started. The ship that we crashed, essentially. Okay, let's see how far we can keep going over here. Thing about this... Yeah, again, it's very much backtracking, going back and forth, but essentially, we should be able to... move on to the next portion here, because we're really stuck in this winter wonderland for quite some time, I like to say. Oh, and I know we're walking really fast here, but I can't wait until we get the upgrade that allows us to go even faster. That upgrade comes in much later in the game, but once we get it, and you know what? When it was first revealed, I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. Like, you know what? Even though we didn't know too much about the battle system, the little things that this game provides with regards to how things are kind of essentially presented with regards to your features and movement and whatnot, it was kind of feeling like a little bit of a classic Tales approach. Like, they brought back some mini games in this game. They brought back funny movement options. Like, outside of the battle system, everything else that they were kind of like to provide in terms of how the game was presented, it felt like an old Tales game when it was being promoted, and part of me kind of appreciated that personally.
But what about Nico and the villagers I killed?
Maybe it's just a case-by-case sort of thing.
Who cares? A corpse is a corpse, whether it's human or demon.
Yeah. I guess being human...
I usually do drink a lot of water, but for myself, I drink way too much water. I'm like a water fiend. I can't stand drinking carbonated drinks unless like I'm partying. But other than that, it's mostly just been water for me, and the occasional sport drink to get some potassium up, some electrolytes going.
She's hopeless. Her keel's busted. It'd be faster to build a new ship.
Her keel?
You could say she's like a man with a broken back.
And how in blazes did you end up running aground here? I wouldn't think it possible.
If you can't help,
hey, stop judging us. We're not the best sailors here, but we did our best. Yo, these people here are kind of like on the same level as like Twitter. Well, actually, you know what? They're professionals, so I can't associate them with Twitter. Twitter are non-professionals thinking they're professionals because their opinion is heard by everybody. At least this ship guild, they are professionals.
Oh, Oscar, what brings you here?
Oh yeah, this thing. This is our reveal where we learned that Oscar's eye is done. Like, it's kaput. It's unusable anymore. And like, that was the thing that wasn't in the anime. So when I saw that his eye was actually like affected, I was like, wow. Didn't expect that, like, especially considering it's going to be a thing for the rest of this game. So, yeah, I don't... It's just more talk about the differences between the anime to the game.
No. The demon saps her enemy's
And
strength with her left hand and
I heard bits and pieces about their relationship. It's kinda interesting, but also kinda... Like, I get it. There is, like, ultimately at the end of the day, they kind of like serve a bit of a platform for what's to occur with Velvet much later on. And we'll definitely be seeing that once we get there. But for now, as you're being introduced here, we start to learn some cool narrative tricks where it's like, oh, we realized that we met this person before and she was treating us like a normal person, but now if we were to cross paths again, I don't think things will be as cordial once we see Teresa here.
I do believe I recognize those earrings.
Of course. I treasure
Who's
them dearly.
the voice actor for Oscar? Like, the voice actor of Oscar does a really good job with the role, I like to say. And Teresa's is okay as well, but I really like how Oscar approaches the character here, like the voice actor for him.
Lady Teresa, we've captured a stowaway.
Oh, by the way, remember our buddy from back then who wanted to go off on her own? Whoa, chill. I think I was using like a trailer shot, but that didn't particularly amount too much compared to the relations between these two. Michael Sintek. Yeah, oh, that's right. I did look up his name once. I think I remember hearing his voice in Fire Emblem Heroes as well.
Because I'll spill my guts just fine without him.
Alright. Looks like we're off to save our friend. And away we go. Takumi and Fates? Yeah, I knew that sounded familiar. I knew that name sounded familiar. Heroes. Oh, yeah, because there's like a different voice for Fates compared to Heroes. Got it. Alright, we're going to push on forward over here and see if we could get to our next destination to, I guess, save our friend. Well, how are we supposed to know that? We're just going back for a different reason. I think we're trying to figure out another way to traverse across the world here, because as we all know, Velvet wants to find Artorias. We don't know what Rokuro's going to do, and yeah, let's see if we can figure things out here. Actually, I think I'm going to play as Velvet for the next part here. I don't think there's too much that we have to be mindful of, because, again, a lot of this game is very, very linear. There's not much to explore and whatnot. There's no way to be lost, I'd like to say. Compared to Vesperia, you can get lost a little bit. Especially when and in Eternia, you could definitely get lost if you don't know where you're going. But when it comes to this game and like previous games of the series, like Exilia 1 and Exilia 2, you're not gonna get lost. But in Zestiria, you're gonna get. You might get lost a bit. It's just more like it feels like everything is so huge there that it takes long to get from point A and point B. And even when you get the upgrade where it's like you speed up and everything, it's just it's really, what are the words looking for? It doesn't really feel like, it does help a bit, but I kind of wished I had a certain surfboard or something, like a skateboard to go across, as I do a little bit of a foreshadowing. Anywho, I can't wait to be a Superman, so here I am doing everything I can, pretending I'm a Superman. Anywho, reference aside, let's just see if we can find a ship.
We have at least one other.
Design-wise, I like Oscar and Teresa's. Yeah, I like the designs of a lot of the Abbey folks. Like I like the whole motif they're going with. I like how Artorias looks with Melchior. Shigure's as well. Shigure's Shigure, but you see Oscar, you see Teresa, you see Elnor. They all have fantastic costume designs. Like I do appreciate that, and it's an intriguing contrast to the designs of our main cast. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of Velvet's, but it's just my opinion. Magilu's as book skirt is kind of weird for me, but I mean, I like the color scheme of Magilu, I want to say. And you know what? Everybody else's designs I'm okay with. Oh wait, we have to go through the door this time. Well, the one time that he actually. No, wait. I'm glad we got the thing at the R1. Well, that's a good way to not get lost. I can always just hold R1 to sort of help me with my lack of direction here. That's another way for them to help you hold your hand, I guess. Which, you know what? I know hand holding has like a bit of a negative connotation to it, so I just want to like make it perfectly clear. Like hand holding, you know, we're talking about gaming in 2021. We're not talking about gaming in the past, even though I do like gaming in the past a bit. That's just the way I started out playing games. Like, I understand why hand holding is a thing. It's a modern sort of approach for video games nowadays, and we could talk about it, and I guess for lack of a better term, like whine about it all we want, but that's just a standard for modern video games nowadays. Video games have become more of the sense where it's less about exploration and more about being told what to do and doing it because you want to see the narrative. Like, I get it, but I do hope that someday, because like we're in this current scenario right now where we have like games hand-holding a lot more, it would be lovely to find a happy medium someday. Like it would be really nice to see one, like an option for hand-holding and an option for just pushing forward, but I've also realized that it's also too much work for the devs to be aware of, so I get it. They usually want to go for the norm at the end of the day. We really weren't going to avoid that, were we? Let's try to run away. Yeah, Grace is the first one to add those navigational reminders. Do I remember where to go? Let me check my notes here a bit. Okay, I know where to go now. We're gonna run into Zagato again. Fine, let's fight. Let's just devour. Alright, keep it going. Yeah, it's fun to have the reminders. I think like the happy medium was like the synopsis. Like the synopsis is there if you want to read it, but if you want to look around, you can look around. I mean, that's what Symphonia established. That's what was carried over afterwards. Games like Eternia, it's a little bit too much like, oh, you're not holding my hand, I don't know where to go. I mean, there are skits that can help out a bit, but ultimately, I think Tales of Destiny on PSX is probably the worst example of being lost and like not having your hand held, essentially. But I think the happy medium is definitely the synopsis. The loss of the synopsis, actually, I think the synopsis is still here. But the synopsis, who reads these nowadays? Like, maybe you read a bit to catch up with plot, but it would be nice to, like, give the synopsis a bit more of an emphasis. Because if you have this, then you don't really have as much of a reason to read the synopsis unless you haven't played the game for a long time. Which is common, I understand, but I feel like the synopsis would serve the purpose of what this is. But I'm just getting nitpicky, don't mind me. Don't mind me. This is fine for what it is there, but if we're to have this discussion, these things need to be addressed. That's all. Little reminder, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you know, if you guys like it, more power to you. I'm just sort of like opening this, leaving this on the floor here to sort of talk about it and address and whatnot. If you want to comment with your opinions, then go for it. It's all the same. We're all just chilling. We're all hyped for Arise. We're all ready for the next release, which will be in Japan. I noticed that, like, with this marathon as to how it's set up, the final day will interfere with, like, the opening hours of when Tales of Arise is out in Japan. So, I would definitely understand if people want to, like, look into Tales of Arise stuff if you can't wait for it. But essentially, yeah, we're still going to go as planned and wrap up Berseria on the last day of the marathon. But I completely understand if you want to, like, rush in to see the content of Arise before a day before it comes out. I'm not that type of person, but I understand where you're coming from.
What are you two doing back here?
Things didn't work out. We'll lend a hand with your raid.
You like to remind us as well? Yeah, again, we're just nitpicky at this point, so maybe they could, like, write out the synopsis a little bit better. And also I might be able to articulate myself a bit better if my voice starts to improve a little bit. I'm kind of like giving you guys a Clip Notes version of how I feel. Even though, like, I wish I could elaborate a bit more on it, but my voice doesn't want to keep up with my thoughts at the moment. So I apologize if I'm not completely succinct with what I'm trying to articulate here. So bear with me if I'm not 100% on point today.
No, I call it a feint. As their forces converge on the front, a second group slips in via the tunnel, strikes the docks, and secures a ship. After that, the two groups meet up and we all sail away. And I want you at the helm.
Answer me this, then. Who's making this frontal assault of yours?
I will, naturally.
That works. When?
Tomorrow. Can we rest here until then?
Make yourself at home. Nothing so comfy as a bed of tar.
You have to put it that way, Dial. Come on.
Velvet.
Oh, and here's where we start to hear Velvet's theme again. And some more flashbacks and whatnot.
Crying out.
I think it's actually the first flashback we're getting. I mean, come on. Did you think this would actually be, like, real life? It is certainly not a real life scenario. It's certainly more of a flashback.
I have to go. I have something important to do.
What's that?
Arthur told me to come meet him at the Shrine of Tranquility.
What could possibly go wrong? Sounds like a great idea. I agree with you, Laffy. Have a good time. And this is the start of, yeah, like I said, Velvet's flashbacks and little nightmare scenarios here and there. We're going to be seeing these a lot because of how Velvet was like back then compared to now.
I'm fine. It was just a dream. If you don't want to go with me, I understand.
That wouldn't do. How can I repay you if you die?
You are an odd one.
Am I? I always thought of me as just me.
They do a lot of these additional skit images I'm noticing too.
Who's this Artorias?
Like, I remember they do bits and pieces of it in Zesteria, but they really explored it a lot. I feel like there were more in... Maybe they had like an equal amount between Zesteria and this game. Maybe there were a little bit more here. It felt like there were a bit more here.
Let's get going then.
See if we could pick up some... Oh yeah, we already picked up the herb here. It's a good thing there's this warp pipe. I was gonna say warp pipe. It's a good thing there's this warp point. Like, I mean, the callbacks to Mario are everywhere. We're collecting coins. We got warp pipes. Like, come on. Can you blame me? You could if you want to, if you don't play too many platformers. But I grew up a Nintendo kid, so I have to make the associations when I hear them and see them. Tales of Berseria, aka Super Mario, Super Tales of Velvet.
Your special concoction.
Ready for deployment anytime.
I'm gonna miss the anime style skits.
Velvet.
I can't make an opinion about the skits yet. I need to play Arise from start to finish to sort of make my opinion about it, but I definitely understand people not liking the fact that there's no anime skits. For myself, I want to play the game to see how they're implemented. Like, I know I can play the demo to get an impression, but I want to fully have an opinion once I play the game with it, because there are some impressions I can make. Like, I like the one panel where I was gonna say Luger for the 17th time this marathon, for where Alphen was preparing. Hold on, before I get into that, can you blame me for mistaking Alphen for Luger so many times? I mean, look at the guy. It's like looking at Flynn and thinking he's Cress or Guy. It's just, anyway, the one panel where Alphen is cooking, especially when I'm talking about Alphen cooking, you'd think Luger is cooking. Alright, we got some more mandatory fights here. We got another exorcist stuff, so let's just have Velvet do her Velvet thing and keep going. So when you hear me say Velvet do her Velvet thing, I'm pretty sure you all can connect the dots as to what that Velvet thing is. Just mash buttons, use the soul when you want to, and just keep going from there. And you're going to be seeing that a lot for the next fight. The next battle, we're going to be showcasing how crazy Velvet is. I don't get Shion from Lila too much. I know people say that, but I don't see it as much. Maybe because like I'm so used to Sarah's taking the pose of Lila, but I don't see Shion too much, but I can understand this association.
I was right. It's a trap.
The thing about Alphen though, it's like, have you seen their faces and their hairstyle and everything? That's crazy. I think I like Shion's dress is like, if we're talking about outfits and designs, I kind of like both of them like similarly, but if I were to pick one that was like a slightly better, I think I like Shion's a bit more, but I'll make more of an opinion once I play the game.
Oh, you're more of a softie than I ever gave you credit for, demon lady.
You're here. You're the demon that escaped the island?
What if I am?
You hurt my dear Oscar.
Man, that's a shot that you see a lot in the trailers too. They didn't really show much of the gameplay footage, but they really did a lot of like the trailers with the cutscenes. Alright, so this is going to be an Abbey Swarm, also known as, hey, let's show off Velvet's Break Soul. So after I kill one of these Abbey folks, I'm going to start using the Break Soul a lot. I do mean a lot. There's not much in terms of weaknesses with regards to these enemies, so just go well with Velvet the moment they start to get KO'd. And you know what? What I didn't appreciate was Rokuro taking that soul. Even though he did earn it, I still kind of wish I picked it up just to show wacky Velvet shenanigans. Alright, it begins. Keep mashing 2 buttons and you're good to go. Especially when Velvet shows off her favorite social media platform right here, whenever she kills every one of these Abbey folks. This is why she's angry. She wants everybody to transfer over from Skype. Skype and Zoom, overrated. You gotta use this. She's such a promoter of this. You're talking about like Carol being a walking billboard? Velvet's just as much of a walking billboard for this favorite for this platform. Oh, there's no stun again. Yeah, Velvet's the one who adds everyone on Discord, and then you hear, and then every single time she does it, she goes, ah! Oh, my voice didn't like that. Anyway. Yeah, so all of this is nothing but Velvet mashing, Velvet shenanigans, keep pushing the buttons and you're good to go. Well, they're gonna have to taste my claw first. You ain't gonna get to these faster than me, Rokuro. And this is how the AI doesn't play Velvet, which is the most surprising thing ever. And also you get a glimpse of the camera issue there. You see the tree in the way there? That's just a Berseria camera moment. This game. Yeah, so this pretty much is just in this fight. Honestly, again, this is why I'm not really too keen on playing against Velvet often, because all this is just pushing buttons and pressing the break soul, rinse and repeat. Something you're gonna get caught in scenarios like this, but you're eventually gonna get the rate of you getting a stun is really high because a lot of Velvet's attacks do include stun. Like, we should get one. And even still, like, even if you don't get a stun, after you kill an enemy, which you're most likely able to do after a break soul, then you'll get another soul and you'll be able to start off with it again. But I'm playing really lazy right now because I'm playing as Velvet.
Crush them now!
Hang in there, Velvet.
Keep going. Show up the Discord. I'm not getting too lucky with my stuns though, so hey Rokuro, I'm gonna steal your kill. But don't steal my kills, okay? That's where your shot's gonna go, because we want Velvet to push us forward. I'm not usually the type to look at the memes and whatnot, but wasn't that one meme in somebody did the Tales of Fandom where it was like Fantasia fans, Eternia fans, Destiny fans? When I saw the one with like mashing butts, it's like, yeah, that's Berseria fans. Again, I don't really like commenting on memes at the end of the day, but that was particularly relatable a bit. That's probably the most accurate one.
You can't finish your own work. Coward.
I won't fall for your taunts. That arm of yours is too dangerous. Besides, to dispose of demon filth, one ought to use an appropriate tool.
Well, I've got tools of my own. Tools of flamestone, sulfur, and oil.
Those will explode.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the analysis.
What? Our stores of flamestone!
Ow.
Rokuro!
I'm with you.
How far are we going into this session today? I actually didn't look at that before. Well, I think we're in an okay pace right now.
What are you all doing? After them!
Lady Teresa, the ships, the port. It's all on fire.
Okay, I think our why do birds fly counter is currently at 3 right now. So I hope I remember to keep track of it, unlike the other times where I forgot to keep track of it for max. All those enemies we fought, we got 412 gold, 412 EXP, not even a level up.
Move it. We're ready to set sail.
Oh jeez, Dial, no! You're weak. No, you resist fire. He should be fine. Wait, no, he's weak to fire. Oh no!
I won't let you escape. Never!
Alright, so here's our boss fight. Honestly, again, it's more the same Velvet shenanigans. There's nothing particularly crazy about this one. The only thing I'd be mindful of is Teresa's break soul. So make sure you get rid of Tether Moloch 1 and 2 and you should be good to go.
I'm a demon. Spare me your sermons.
Then you can pay with your life.
One thing I really like about this game, which kind of calls back to like Rebirth, is that you're gonna fight a lot of your own party members that you run into. I think the only party member you never fight is Velvet and Magilu, but everybody else you're gonna be running into, you're gonna be like fighting once at least, I'd like to say. So it's cool that like this game sort of like gives a little bit of a callback to Rebirth, because I like that in Rebirth when eventually you had to combat everyone. And I guess Graces count, but Graces wasn't really main narrative, so I don't want to count Graces, even though it does do it in a sense. Alright, we got rid of Moloch number 1, now let's get rid of number 2. Can we get a kill here for Velvet, so that she gets some soul back? You know what? Teresa's arts a little bit kind of remind me of Eleanor's when she's spinning her staff that way. Mulan, wait. Did I read that properly? Her art is called Moulin Rouge? Oh my gosh, I never even noticed that until now. What the heck? Can't take the word tether. Yeah. All thanks to Exilia. I hear you. Teresa knows the Moulin Rouge. Now I want to see her do like some of the dance numbers from that movie. And also, you do a lot of that for dodging too. Hey, I earned that Rokuro. That ain't yours. All right, let's go full wild on Velvet. I mean, Moulin Rouge is like a song from back in the day too, so it's like that's what I remember it for personally. Velvet gameplay, everybody. Let's keep it going. To be honest, I only really use Velvet. Oops, I forgot to dodge that. The only reason why I use Velvet is because, like, I want to get rid of that swarm quickly. But other than that, I also just want to go through this fight quickly because I don't particularly care too much about this fight personally, even though it is one of the more unique ones. I was just like, let's just keep it simple because I think the cutscene just carries over from the swarm to this fight. Oh, jeez! First Luffy, then this little Moloch too? What's with all this child abuse here at the beginning?
The crybaby exorcist. I wasn't crying!
Oh yeah, I forgot it's gonna be a thing from here on forward. We're gonna keep commenting on, hey, you crybaby. How's it going, crybaby?
Knock them back. That's an order. Knock them back, or I'll eat you.
An order?
And I won't forget the pepper. Alright. Looks like we made our escape.
Why? Why would they do such a thing to us? We're finished! Hellawes is no more!
Well, aren't we a motley lot of heroes? I mean, obviously we're not supposed to be heroes at the end of the day, but we have our own agendas and we become the heroes. So, right now we just picked up some more arts, picked up some more titles. I haven't really explored too much of the titles personally, but they do have some pretty interesting effects, kind of like how they were in Zestiria. Yeah, so we gain 30 SG if we charge up a little bit longer. And power links are going to be a little bit annoying later on, because power links are going to have like a lot of, what words I'm looking for? A lot of particular scenarios where you want to get rid of the mooks right away. To be honest, with this playthrough, the biggest thing I'm worried about aren't the bosses for the most part. More like generic mook battles. The generic mook battles, for some reason, they really want you gone. And there's one in particular that I'm really worried about, which I think we're going to be running into at the end of tomorrow. I guess we'll see.
He looks like he'd be a scrumptious midday snack for you. A snack?
She's just teasing.
But we're going to start off with Moloch number 2. I really love the voice direction from Moloch number 2 at the beginning.
I accept it.
And how the direction of Moloch number 2 grows over time. It's such a... It's like voice direction can really help with the narrative. And the way that it was done here in this game for the English dub was well done. Shoutouts to the actress who did Lobster. I can't remember her name though, but she did a very good job. I think it was a save file. Anywho, I believe we're like a couple hours in. We still have about 1 hour left of stuff to do, essentially. I think we'll be done our next dungeon, I would say. It depends on how these cutscenes go, of course. And it's gonna be one of those scenarios where I have to talk to everybody, so here we go.
Conflagration. Don't think they'll be chasing after us anytime soon. You certainly didn't leave them much of a port, though. I wonder if the town will ever recover.
How much did you tell them?
I had just started episode 2, Magilou's Fury, wherein the beautiful witch is captured and tortured by a demon most cruel.
I'm starting to see why they wanted to execute you.
Well, that's a little blunt. All right, see if we can get ourselves down here, and we got to speak to Rokuro and Dial. Honestly, It would have been cool if Dial was a party member. Having a playable lizard, heck yeah, but unfortunately, he's not going to be playable in this game, which was a little bit unfortunate. But oh well, oh well. It would have been cool, to be honest, to play as Dial.
Set a course.
I'll do what I can.
He's all got the half tail too, so he's kind of have like a bit of a gimmick to do the design.
Besides, if we keep sailing this way,
I'm glad we also have Dal on our team too, because he could like sail that ship that we're on. Velvet theme number. I think it's probably the 4th time we're hearing this song, because we heard it in the flashback, we heard it at the ball, we heard it in her dream,
So hard to read.
and I think this might be the 3rd time we heard Velvet's
You're
theme.
holding it wrong.
Are we gonna get a Velvet theme count? Okay, so 3 times for Velvet's theme,
It's
3
built to
times
function
for
even if
Why
the
Do
ship
Birds
is
Fly.
rolling.
I don't know how we could keep this up, depending on guest appearances and whatnot, but I'll try my best, I suppose. I didn't do too well with the yes from Eternia 2 days ago, but
What's your name?
I don't know. We'll see what we can do.
Not that. Your real name. Surely you have one.
I mean, again, it's a fun piano piece, and I do like how it evolves throughout the game, depending on which parts of the game you're at.
If that's an order,
I'm asking you what you want.
so you're ordering me to answer?
Right. You Malakim would destroy yourselves as long as it was in order, wouldn't you?
That is our purpose.
You really are tools.
Like, you look at like, the voice direction at the start of this game for number 2 compared to how it is later. It's such a nice contrast and to determine how things are going at this part of the game. Oh, and that's a useful compass. I remember everybody was doing like we're analyzing the trailers, and then like they zoomed in on that because like, wait, isn't that compass important? Wait, why did they just casually throw it off and stuff like that? So, it's just another case of the little teasers from this game prior to release.
To land then. We can fight them there.
To Lambda? Anywho, we're going to meet the most anticipated character of the game prior to the release. I'll be honest, when Berseria came out, I didn't really have much of an opinion to think about this character, but apparently a lot of people really did. And I was like, I didn't get it, but hey, it ended up working for promotion, I guess. Because everybody really wanted to see what happened with this guy right over here walking in with this really cool design, I wanted to say. I really do like how he looks. And, yeah, it's just straight up like, this guy's like straight up pirate over here. Well, not really straight up pirate, but you know, it's like half pirate, half like really cool suit.
A Moloch?
No, I'm the Reaper.
Alright, so here's another encounter here with this guy. Let's see if we can beat up this pirate Moloch. I don't want to play as I don't want to play as Velvet. I already played as Velvet a lot in the last world. It's time to play as Rokuro a bit. I would like to play as number 2. But number 2, I don't know, he's not particularly fun for this battle. I think number 2 will be the one that I'm going to be playing as the least in this entire playthrough, so that's just a heads up for things to come. But, I mean, he's kind of fun, but when it comes to a hard playthrough, based on what I'm doing, it's not particularly viable at the end of the day. What's wrong with Velvet? You know what's wrong with Velvet. You know what? I'll repeat myself, I guess, because Velvet is so easy to play as, and it's kind of sad. It's not as fun, is what I'm trying to say. Anywho, let's keep beating up this Moloch here. As Velvet keeps attacking, trying to use the Break Soul, but not really using it. I'm gonna use the Break Soul once I get 4 souls, and while our number 2 there is quietly casting spells in the background. Alright, let's keep on pushing forward here. Favorite character in the game for me? Yeah, it's a lot of people's favorite characters. I think he's okay. I didn't... You know what? Like, he would have been up there for me if it weren't for another character in this game. I think I like the other character's journey more than than this one's because it just got overshadowed, and it was really one of the best highlighted moments for me. I think I mentioned in that thread where I go off on, oh, these are my favorite moments throughout the series, and I had to mention that moment. But yeah, this is another case where we gotta take down the enemy down to half HP to keep pushing forward.
You passed the test. Join us,
Well, aren't you the impudent one?
says the demon who torched Televis.
You knew about that?
I hope you realize we're doing you a favor. If you'd stayed on that
Oh,
course,
look at the little bird on top of that other pirate. So cute. I believe they're called Sylph Jays.
Aren't you? That means you're gonna have to go through the
It's so pudgy. It's just chilling. It's just like the one background character you sort of just like see around there. I think that little Sylph Jay barely gets much credit for it being how just vibing for this whole story.
You're in your debt.
we desire
Look at that stare! Look at the stare of that bird. It's just like everybody's so angry except for the one bird just chilling. It's like, I'm just preparing a family over here, basically.
You want to see the gate for yourself? We won't stop you. We'll even throw you a nice funeral if you like.
Again, voice direction for all these characters is really well done. Like, I have to comment on the voice direction more because I need to, as much as I think of how quirky Tales of Eternia is, at the end of the day, I would, I need to talk about how it's evolved from that game. And, I don't know, like, again, I'm not familiar with, like, modern, Tales of voice actors to pull for it, but whoever did, the first mate here did a very good job.
Stick to the plan and focus on your duties aboard the Von Eltia.
Oh, and also the Van Altia makes an appearance here. Yes. It's unfortunate that Vesperia didn't have a Von Eltia reference, unless I missed something. But yeah, it's cool, like how, again, all three games of this marathon have something to do with Ifrit in some way, shape, or form. So, and they are all major roles too. Like, they're nothing like a minor side quest or something. It's actually something where it's like, oh, you're actually important for the main narrative. Get the tutorial options. Now we have to talk to everybody again. It's another one of those scenes. I don't know how we're doing in terms of weapons, but I think I'm going to work on some enhancements here or there.
Like I said, we're getting through that gate. If you're not helping us, then the conversation's over.
Is it possible to get through?
If the first mate says he'll do it, he'll do it.
You sure put a lot of faith in him. He's a Moloch, isn't he?
That doesn't matter. He's got the captain's blessing, and that's enough for
Oh,
us.
so the other pirate's here is named Benwick, the one with the cute little bird on top of his
We
hat.
lost both our compass and several of our crew in an earlier attack.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Yeah,
But in the end, we're pirates. If
we
someone
need that
gets
for
away,
that's how we
can't
progress.
fall back.
And that's what makes a pirate, huh?
Yeah, we don't have our compass anymore because we accidentally threw it off the ship.
Tragically, your favorite witch is neither a sailor nor a warrior. All she can really do is look on.
No argument there.
Is the Gate of Vortigern really something that impressive, Dial?
They've got a fortress
Sounds
and
like it.
patrolling fleet, but the gate is the real show. Even a battleship couldn't blast its way through that thing.
Is there no sea route that avoids the Narrows?
There is, so to speak, but it's a long way out into the open sea.
I think as we keep progressing through this part, the next part we're going to be ending off after the next dungeon we're going to run into. And I think that should be it for this first portion of Tales of Berseria for the marathon. Hopefully my voice will feel a little bit better after the break, but I'm going to have a shorter break period as I did Vesperia, compared to the longer break periods I have with Eternia. But I'll see what I can do to recover as much as I can, and I think we're going to have some people joining in later as well.
We both have ulterior motives. In any case, let's go after him.
Alright, before we go after him, let's focus on some shopping here. So, I know I talked about how enhancements are important. They're more important than buying new weapons at first, so... Or, no, pretty much for, like, the entirety of this game, to be honest. So, the thing that I want to do is that first I'm going to buy some life bottles first, one apple gel. Yeah, so, pardon me as I keep going through this game. There's going to be some menuing about, because I want to make sure that I have at least decent weapons and whatnot. Particularly for Velvet. Let's see if we could, because, like, the Bloodblade here is actually really good. But, like, you can either choose weapons that are, like, based on, like, the usual progression like something else established in Berseria, Amber, Mithril, or you could use like these weapons that use different materials to enhance them. So you have to be mindful of like when you're progressing to know like how you want your weapons to be enhanced, as opposed to having the best weapon every single time. Because if you have that mindset, you're gonna be low on cash right away. So I think what I want to do is that I want to dismantle the Amber Blade that we have here, so that way we can use it to enhance our equipment. Sturdy belt, actually, you know what, because like you can also see the equipment menu here in the shop, so it's not particularly rough to sort of like maneuver and whatnot, but yeah, it looks like the Amber belt does outclass it a bit. Same with the Amber garment. I kind of want the defense over the HP, because having Velvet's HP, well, actually, let's try it out. Let's try the yeah, let's try the Amber garment here, because I think that may be a decent balance. I don't think we have new weapons for a number 2 or Rokuro for that matter. Let's see if we could sort through that. Now we're gonna get through the meat of the menu of this game. Let's dismantle some of the materials here first. We don't need this garment. We don't need the resistance ring anymore. Don't need the bow boots anymore. And now it's time for us to get some enhancements in. So I think we're going to get the... doesn't matter for AI Velvet. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, she did pretty well in our Dial fight. I'm going to say that. Like, as much as I flacked on AI Velvet, she did a pretty fine job for that battle. But we got foreign daggers. We got a plain paper. You know what? I kind of want to change Rokuro's path here, because... he's gonna get weapons that are gonna help a little bit later, but what I want to do is, I want to equip the, Amber daggers on Rokuro for now, and we're gonna dismantle, the foreign daggers he has, like, so, bear with me, because I'm still trying to, like, feel my way around this, because I just started to understand the importance of enhancement very recently, so... I think we're gonna enhance that. It's a good thing to also balance your enhancements throughout, because when you're enhancing equipment, it's pretty much like buying new weapons. The only reason you want to buy new weapons is either you're really outclassed when you're in a new area, or the other thing that comes to mind is when you're like, what are the words I'm looking for? Let's just say it's been like, let's just say if you need to buy them to sort of get more material to use to enhance what we're doing here. Like, this is honestly like the last moment. That'd be like a last ditch effort if you're down on fragments. And that's what I'm currently on right now. So we got that going right over here, and I think I might be a little bit too conservative for my money. So you want to buy the cheapest equipment if you want to enhance them further. So right here with this one, we do get a 20 attack power increase, but I want to see if we can use these just to enhance the materials we have. So I'm going to disassemble this other Amber Blade and this Amber Talisman and use it to enhance our current equipment right now. I don't have any bronze crafts. Those are a little bit more rarer to run by, but we will get there once we get there. And I think we're doing okay in terms of enhancements, I want to say. I just want to see if I could buy maybe a couple more light bottles just in case. And a couple more apple gels. And I think we should be good. Alright, and away we go. We're finally heading off to see what that Pirate Malik has in store for us. So once again, we're going to be seeing more of the same that I described before in the previous dungeons. Like, the length of these dungeons, again, it's been a long time since I played the Exilia, so there's only so much that I can remember from how things were like back in that game to these games. But yeah, it's just like, it just reminds me a lot of the modern Tales of games, like just long corridors going from point A to point B. Like, I understand there's appeal to it because of the linearity, but for me it's kind of like, well, it just feels a little bit boring, for lack of a better term. But particularly when it comes to like marathon here. Like again, we're getting to marathon nitpicks and whatnot. Like it's definitely gonna be one thing I'll be nitpicking for sure. But my nitpicks are just nitpicks. It's still a fine game overall. I'm just sort of like providing the commentary to have a little bit of a sort of like analysis sort of deal with all these games because I love the series that much. Just because I nitpick doesn't mean I hate it. It's more like I want to sort of like say things that I like and say things I don't like, so that way I like to see how the series could possibly improve from my perspective, but at the same time, for anybody who wants to chime in, feel free to chime in and we have a bit of a discussion and talk about it. But in any case, right now we're about to learn more about what this pirate Moloch's all about and what he does. And this is another cute little reference here because that coin there, the heads and tails are based on, what's it called? Martel and Dowls, I want to say. Like here you see Dowls on one side, and the other side of the coin is Martel. So the thing about this guy is that apparently he has some kind of Reaper's Curse, which is a bit of a premonition to certain elements of Zestiria that... Oh man, this game, when it's connected to Zestiria, it does so much to sort of like supplement that game's plot a little bit more, I'd like to say. Like, I feel like the two titles are still very complementary of each other, but there still seems to be like a very universal opinion where it's so polarizing, where it's like one likes one and one likes the other. You can't like both, but I don't know. I'm of the side where it's like, I feel like there's an approach where you can like bulk games because they both have like lovely complements to each other with how they world build each other in terms of the plot, but it's just unfortunate because I think both games are still too recent to sort of have the fandom have those like knee-jerk reactions essentially.
I'm sure. Let's hear it.
To put it bluntly, Vortigern is impregnable.
So we learned that our pirate Moloch here goes by the name of Eisen. Yes, this guy that I still didn't get it, like in Zestiria, why like everybody was really hyped about Eisen back then. But I can understand since like I think like narrative-wise he had like the most plot relevance, I suppose. I don't know. It's like how they presented in Zestiria. The Zestiria presentation of Eisen could have been handled a bit better for me to have cared, but that's just my perspective. I can see why people kind of like him at the end of the day. Pre-release of Berseria. For me, when I thought about this game, I thought he was just okay. Like nothing particularly crazy. Actually, you know what? There were some things later on where he does sort of commit to some of his roles and ideals. And it's more so to complement another character, which I personally really like much more in this game compared to another game. But we're going to get there once we get there. So for now, I think I have to... Let's see this linear map here. I think I have to head this way first. Yeah, so, you know in Zestiria, where we have all those cool Seraph field skills to use, well, they're all going to be replaced by, like, kicking boulders and, like, using flint. So, like, we went from, like, if we're talking, like, from game progression-wise, it's a little bit of a downgrade. We used to be able to use these powerful spirits to break down these walls and vines, but now all we have is flint. Okay, let's use a kindling and some flint and burn it off. It's such a contrast in terms of how things were back in Zesty in this game. Anywho, I think I need to head east here or something. I mean, obviously, of course, it's in the past. I'm just talking about from a gameplay perspective. It's like... And hey, we got Molochs here. I'm pretty sure we could have had, like, maybe number 2 use like a fireball skill, or maybe Rokuro uses Form 1, but no, it's just Flint. It's just Flint. It's just a little joke, that's all. Anywho, let's see if we could head a little bit to the northwest. And you do mention the past, like, Molochs have a bit of a connection to Seraph, so it is kind of possible, but we'll talk more about that as this game starts to unfold a little bit. Particularly here, I do like this part because it's sort of like, it's something that you don't generally catch when you go through this cutscene. Until you see this cutscene, I like to say.
Calling him by a number is cruel.
What's Rokuro mean?
Well, son number 6, technically.
I remember the scene having an awkward translation over for localization, but it's really hard to localize a Japanese joke like that. This could have been done in a battle, to be honest, but I think Berseria has too many mandatory move battles already, so I don't mind it being a cutscene.
Why didn't you say something? If Eisen hadn't noticed in time, you'd be dead.
Because you ordered me to keep my mouth shut.
I like this reaction here.
That's not what I meant.
Like the facial expression is it's like I like it when it comes to facial expressions and like media in general. So they're able to pull that off in the game. That's pretty good. Maybe it's a modern game sort of thing. Again, I'm too much hardcore into details of to sort of like think about other games and whatnot. But I thought that was like a nice little touch with that reaction there.
Malachim have individual personalities, just like humans.
The thing about it as well, like we learn about Molochs here, like they're essentially, as Eisen says here, they're sealed away of their personalities and whatnot and to be used as tools, which is really rough to hear about. How the Abbey manipulates the Molochs that way. So once again, it kind of connects to Moloch number 2's growth, which I really like in this game personally. But when it comes to the hello cacti, pleasure to meet you. But what I do want to say is that like when it comes to how the that voice direction is so good with how the Maliks are presented here and whatnot. When it comes to what's the train of thought? I got distracted by like 3 things at once. But basically, let's just keep on pushing forward. Yeah, I try to recollect my thoughts and remember what I was supposed to say. I had something, but I got distracted by like Moloch. Oh, okay, I remember now. Okay, so Moloch number 2. When we were on the boat, and when Velvet told Moloch number 2 to be quiet and don't say anything until I give the order, like Moloch number 2 did that in the cutscenes, but also did that in battle. So like you won't see like Moloch number 2 like saying any like spell quotes or grunting or anything. So it's like the nice little details I like to accept where gameplay helps influence the narrative in a sense. So if you didn't catch like Moloch number 2 not talking, and I think Moloch number 2 doesn't talk later on as well for the spells until a certain point, like it's still kind of cool that they were able to implement that. We're talking about gameplay and story integration. I specifically like the gameplay story integration the most with like the Eternia playthrough we did over the past 3 days. But I'll take what I can get with regards to any gameplay and narrative implementation as much as possible. And that was a good example of it, I like to say.
Much obliged.
The turtles are traveling.
When we talk about gameplay and story implementation, I feel like Zestiria does it really good. Like, of modern games that came out, like Zestiria did a great job showing off like how gameplay can be affected by narrative. Like, particularly what I do like is that when you control the Seraphs in battle, and when you attack human enemies, they won't react to you, except for one particular human. But yeah, like it's kind of cool how like a lot of the enemies in that game are like malevolence based, but when you encounter human enemies, they will not react to the Seraphs at all. They'll get damaged by it, but they won't get hurt. I tweeted about it like a couple months ago during my Zestiria revisit. So, like, there were more examples of Zestiria, but I feel like that's like the first one that comes to mind for me whenever I look at Zestiria and be like, oh, this is a perfect example of implementing gameplay with story. Okay, I think I did my shopping previously. We didn't really get much gold at all since then, so I think we should be okay. If I had seen a sale, I would have bought the item and then dismantled it right away. But we also have our new party member, Eisen. I didn't really give a chance to give him a shot either. But we're not going to use him quite yet because the next dungeon has a boss that doesn't particularly do well with his capabilities just yet. But he will get some screen time soon enough. But for now, we're gonna see if we could capitalize on some enhancements here. We did pick up some weapons, actually. So let's see if we could get some dismantling going. Doesn't look like we can, so maybe I'll just go... Yeah, early game here, you get a lot of your party members early on, which is really cool. But the problem is that I need to try to get them up to my level in terms of enhancements. So I bought some extra equipment there to dismantle. Okay, we got an amber belt here. We got 2 resistant rings to dismantle. Let's see what we can upgrade with that over here. So we could upgrade the wristlet with a bronze scrap. To to emphasize the importance of enhancements, like I went as far as like 4 or 5 bosses ahead with just the wristlet. So enhancing is much more important than buying the new weapons, and it's such a mentality that I really have to like shift towards when I go from Tales game to Tales game, especially when it came to Zestiria and Berseria. Like both of them really reflect on this whole enhancement system in order to sort of like gain an advantage in battle, I'd like to say. So we're gonna get an enhancement on maybe, yeah, we're gonna get an enhancement on the battle amber boots here, and one more for Moloch number 2, in order to ensure that they kind of get some more of these additional pluses going on here. I wish I had more for Eisen, but unfortunately I don't have the way to push forward with it. I dislike the system, to be honest. Glad it rises back to yeah, no, honestly, at the end of the day, if I would have a preference, I like the way that like Arise does it and stuff like that. It keeps it simple, but I don't mind exploring. Like it's not as offensive to me compared to when I first played this game. It's alright, like I eventually got used to it, but first playthrough it took a while to understand the importance of enhancements, because I barely did until the game started telling me, oh, you're gonna get more BG if you enhance your weapons. Like, oh, okay, fine, I guess I'll enhance them more. I think the scene, yeah, we're about to exit this dungeon here and move on to the next. For those who are tuning in, I do apologize if my voice is starting to be a little bit more on the lower end of things and I'm not talking as much. We ran into a lot of troubles with the last boss of Tales of Eternia, and it just so happens I think that might be the point where my voice started to cry out a little bit, and it's starting to affect me today. So I hope a good night's sleep and some hot tea and water would help protect me for tomorrow. But for today, I apologize if it sounds like I'm a little bit more low key. I'm gonna do my best to keep on pushing through for today. The extra BG is so good, same with the BG boost when you break. So yes, it's all really good stuff when you start to explore and emphasize the equipment system. But once again, I'm so glad, like just as you said, Eclipse, I'm glad that they're kind of getting rid of it when you get to Tales of Arise, which will be once again coming out in 4 days. No. Today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. It comes out on Thursday in Japan. It comes out on Friday outside of Japan. So I hope we're all going to have a good time when that game comes out, because there's been a lot of anticipation with that game, especially with its promotion. Steam on Thursday? Oh, very nice. I didn't realize that Thursday was going to be a little bit more open to the worldwide and whatnot. Also, when I first saw this scene, I went crazy a little bit. Like, they're really throwing the random references everywhere and whatnot. Like, oh, look at this. Let's talk about the Karlan War. Let's talk about 765. Like, references everywhere in this. Like, this kid, I really had to put the controller down and be like, did I just hear all this? And I'm pretty sure you mean kangaroo, Moloch number 2. Unless you read the unspell check version. Anyway, didn't mean to rail on that translation, but there are some cool things about that translation, to be honest. Like, I know everybody likes to meme it up. It's like, oh, you know, kangaroo, ha 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 ha. But no, actually, there are some pretty cool moments in that localization of GBA Fantasia that I think people often overlook because it's Fantasia GBA. I get that the battle system's not good, but localization-wise, it's okay. There's just little hits or miss. There's just some really unfortunate oversights here or there that unfortunately marred its image. In terms of the localization, gameplay, I couldn't care less about Fantasia GBA. But that's just my perspective. I know people who grew up with Fantasia GBA, especially if it's your first game in Europe. I understand where you come from. When I played Naraki Division 3, I couldn't go back. But that's just me.
There's a barrier over it.
Maybe someday I'll pick it up, but I don't know if I feel like it. We'll see.
You weren't kidding, were you? That scorpion.
I think I want to play Fantasia Cross or Fantasia Super Famicom before I consider replaying GBA first, because that game has so many ports. I play iOS, but that's not available anymore. For the bits and pieces I played of it, I thought it was interesting. With an interesting challenge. Self-imposed challenge with the app version.
You did your research.
I had to.
Berseria is definitely the anniversary title. Yeah, it really did feel that way. Like, you know, they're pushing Zesty as the anniversary title, but outside of the references in the end, it didn't feel like much of an anniversary title. And this is why I feel like it's more of my conversation when it comes to like how it was presented. I feel like timing wise, for me personally, I feel like Berseria should have came first instead of Zestiria. Because look at all these references and everything. It felt more like a 20th anniversary title. And at the same time, you also like it also sets up the struggle of the shepherd much better than like, well, okay, there's bits and pieces of it being set up in Zestiria, but I feel like I like to see it rather than be told that the shepherd's struggle is real, and for lack of a better term to complete that statement. But when it's like saying that the shepherd's struggle is real, I feel like it's much more well developed here, and also sort of like tells us about the Lord of Calamity as well. So like, if we had played this game first before Zestiria, I think people would not have been so hard on Zestiria, in my opinion. Anywho, we got some more of these folks to kill. And I keep forgetting, because like, I usually prepare myself by holding the target button during a cutscene, but if you hold R1, because it's a post-game file, you're going to see some skips here or there during the cutscene. So I apologize for that, but it is what it is. What do I have to do in this part? I actually have been looking at my notes because it's been really linear, but this fight is nothing special.
What kind of curse is this, Aizen?
They're all Dial again, but armored up. I still think Dial should have been a playable character in this game. Yeah, but even if I don't play as Velvet, the battle system does leave a lot to be desired at the end of the day. Like, I kind of wish things were in like a weird flowchart to get set up for yourself. Unlike with Graces, I think the challenge of the flowchart was to like figure out where you're going and how to capitalize the weaknesses. So like you know where to go, where you need to know where to go when you're attacking, as opposed to like, oh, I can set my own paths and mash the button. Like Graces have kind of like Berseria kind of loses what Graces have was trying to establish with that whole chain capacity thing. The chain capacity with the art chain links. I mean, if you're gonna have like art chain links, like I'm not gonna like what are the words looking for? Like oh jeez, I lost my train of thought already. I got distracted by the whole bad hit stun. Okay, I see. Like I don't know too much about like the hit stun about Graces because it's been like way too long since I last played through Graces F, so I can't give the full opinion that I would like about that game. It has the same problem. Well, same thing for me where like with Exilia 1, Exilia 2, and Abyss, I can't give too much of an opinion of that. I mean, Zesty came out, yeah, that's right. Zesty in Japan came out in January of 2015, which is the same year as the anniversary, but technically speaking, if we were to be technical, Tales of Fantasia Super Famicom came out in December 15th, 1995. So, yeah, in all intents and purposes, I guess you could call Berseria an anniversary title, but the promotion of Zestiria kind of... That's the story of Zestiria. The promotion of Zestiria really hampered it a bit, not just for the obvious reasons of like whatever is going on with Alicia or Rose. I personally don't care too much about that, but when it comes to the how it was promoted initially, like before its announcement, we really went through all the Tales games. Namco went through the Tales games leading up to the announcement, saying that, oh, look at the 20th anniversary. It's time to lead on to the next generation, like in 2013. And when they aimed for that, like they really wanted to push that from the beginning, and it left a lasting impression because everybody's like, oh, what's gonna happen after the Exilias? What's gonna happen after the studios merge together? Like all the hardcores were thinking about that. So when it happened, it's like a lot of people are like, oh, look at this. This is going to be the next big title of the series. I'll celebrate the franchise, and I'm not really doing so well because of how polarizing it is. But hey, I mean, at the end of the day, definitely semantics aside, Berseria does feel more like the anniversary title, and I guess with that regard, it does feel like it is a little bit afterwards. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm talking about for Fruban. Think about that. Like, what if Berseria had the bad camera issues? Like, how would this narrative would have been like perceived, right? Like Zestiria is not a bad narrative, I want to say. I think it's actually pretty solid. But the only issues were like more so gameplay related. Particularly, I really didn't like the camera. So like, if ever there was like an alternate timeline where Berseria came out first with the weird things that Zestiria had, it kind of makes me wonder what would have happened. How's it going, Deformed?
This door should lead to the gate. But it looks like they've got it.
Sorry, I'm not super well aware of the intricacies of Twitch, but if I understand, Razor when we raid each other with new viewers, so thank you very much for the raid, I suppose.
Intruders! How dare you
Eclipse, you mentioned that, how armatization felt more required. I didn't think it was more required in Zestiria. I think what was I looking for? I think I didn't like linking Exilia 1 and Exilia 2 because I felt that was more required. But in Zestiria, I felt like they balanced it up because you have to balance between being armatized, being not armatized, and using your spells. Because like, what was it? Like if you're armatized and you're attacking enemies that are starting to cast a spell, you speed up their casting time. So you don't want to be armatized when they're casting spells. So you have to switch out of armatization to stop those spell casters as well. I think if it was linking, I don't like linking in general, but I think Zestiria did it best. Camera, I don't like. But apparently somebody in the chat earlier said that you can fix it, but I've heard the stories before. Apparently there's an option for it. I don't know. The only thing I do know is that, like, if you're in multiplayer, a friend of mine told me, like, you can control the camera similarly to this game, which is like, why wasn't that there for the first player in the first place?
Wait! The key is in the control room. It's through there.
Now here's the thing. If we're talking about stories, I feel like somebody pointed this out to me before, because, like, if we're talking narratives between Zestiria and Berseria, Zestiria is very much a classic JRPG narrative. And when I first saw the Zestiria narrative, I wasn't particularly fond of it. But then, like, when somebody, like, people who I spoke to who knows Zestiria, we kind of had some talks, kind of had some discussions, and they kind of opened my eyes a bit to a different perspective. Like, when I look at it as like a classic old school JRPG, it kind of fills in the boxes very well, with a bit of an authorian taste to it. But when it comes to Berseria, I want to say about Bercy, it definitely more so appeals to the Western crowd, because it's more about these people who have their own ideals and their individualisms. Whereas, like, with Zestiria, it's all about, like, how they're all working together to beat the... I mean, they're both about working together to beat the common goal, but the thing is, it's a little bit less emphasized on character, and more about, like, the JRPG goal of meeting the quest lines to end it off, essentially. Sorry, I'm just trying to dig through my notes here to make sure I know where I'm going. I think I need to go here. I just updated these notes recently. What the heck? Okay, let's actually go up here first. We're talking OSTs. I like Legendia's better, but Zestiria is pretty good. Also, you preferred Zestiria's gameplay? Yeah, I prefer Zestiria's gameplay compared to this one. Like, it feels like there's more thought into it, I like to say, in my opinion, compared to Berseria. But that's just my opinion, you know. Everybody can have their opinions, their perspectives. Yeah, Berseria is super butt to mash. Like, we went from Vesperia, which is really technical but takes a long time to build up. Eternia, it carries over the fighting LMBS, but it's not really... There's some weird quirks here or there, particularly that final boss. Okay, and also, and we go from those two games to this game, where it's like, you're really mashing. You're really mashing a lot. Like, again, it tries to emulate the whole, the Graces F system, but it doesn't particularly... it ends up being, like, once you get mappables, like, it ends up being not too good at the end of the day. Where am I going? Man, these notes for this part isn't particularly clear for me. Maybe I'm supposed to go here. Yeah, for Velvet, you're just mashing. It's really not fun at all. Like, don't get me... Again, I'm only talking from a gameplay perspective. If you're somebody who enjoys... who's like casual and isn't particularly good with like fighting games. Also, hold up. I want to address the whole casual stigma. It's not a bad thing to be casual. You know what it is? It's because like a lot of gamers want to like for some reason gamers really want to say like they're really really good at a game, and for that they want to like automatically overpower themselves against like casuals because they want to feel good about themselves. But there's nothing wrong with being casual. Is what I'm trying to say. I just want to address it where it's like when you look at a game like this, it definitely has like the gameplay is more designed for a casual perspective. It just so happens for those who aren't too casual, they're gonna have some feedback about it, and try not to take it personally. You can play the games however you want at the end of the day, but that doesn't mean you can't have that feedback or like argue them because of the sake that it doesn't fit in with what you want. Just let the arguments happen, let the discussions happen without attacking other people personally. Because when it becomes personal, with some random person on the internet, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Just play what you want to play. But I'm just opening the discussions and lanes or whatnot, so that if you want to comment on it, feel free. It's good to be casual, but there has to be a fine line. I think that's the argument that needs to be done. There has to be a fine line between casual and hardcore, quote-unquote. Does Berseria count to help out with it? I'm going to say it helps out a little bit, but... sorry, pardon me. I'm going to try to remember what I'm supposed to do in this fight. I think it's nothing special. Just get rid of the mooks and you should be good. Don't use fire moves, even though like Rokuro has fire moves. But I do want to map this one move he has here. Imbue Earth is a very good skill to get enemies off the ground. So we want to use that specifically for this rodent here. But anytime you knock down an enemy with Rokuro, just use Form 2 and you will lift them up to continue the combo. Is Grace's F most casual friendly? I wish I could comment on Grace's F, because again, it's been 7 years since I last played it, so there's only so much that I could like infer from a playthrough where I wasn't really exploring gameplay much, and even then I felt like I didn't like Grace's F. If I was kind of casual back then, so if I didn't like it when I was casual, but that's just my experience. Maybe there are others who like it. But there are some technical prowess to Grace's F that I want to like talk about. Like there are players who really broke down that system once they explored it. So I wouldn't want to rule out Grace's F as a casual game, but it certainly has a nice casual start. But I would say, you know what? Maybe Grace's F is the perfect example of a game for both casuals and hardcores. But maybe because of how it was developed or how it starts off, it could sort of give out the impression of, oh, it's super casual, but definitely because of... Again, I wish I could provide more about Grace's F. Come back to me after like a year or two when I consider replaying it, when I find the time. So I've only just seen a friend play through it recently, so I can only comment from that perspective. But all I can say is that as I see AI Velvet not being played properly, I know that there is more to Grace's F than my impressions a long time ago. Symphonia? Symphonia? I mean, it kinda... I want to say it is. But the thing that really... I don't know. Symphonia... I want to say Berseria might be a little bit more casual. No, actually, no. Why did I say Berseria is a bit more casual friendly? Symphonia is a good start. Symphonia is a good start. If we're talking... Oh, I like this topic that we're talking about now. Like, which Tales of game would be like the most casual friendly, like casual approach and all that. Like that topic actually interests me a little bit here.
Let's go.
I got lost a little bit, but I think we should be getting to our a closure soon.
I studied directly under the Legate Shigure of the Abbey.
Lies. He'd never take on a student. Let me guess. He taught you a few things one time when he was super bored.
I forgot how long these cutscenes were, so I don't know if we can make it to our checkpoint, but I guess we'll see. I can't comment on Arise yet because I haven't played it. We're only commenting on games that we have a way of playing, but promo-wise, they're doing well with Arise, but that's a different topic altogether. I don't mean casual as in easy. I mean casual as in... that's where the perspective of casual sort of has that negative connotation sometimes with some people. I mean casual as in ease of access. Like, it gives you tools to get going, while not feeling like it's a bit. I wish I could articulate this more, because I haven't talked about this topic a lot at all, so it's kind of fun. To talk about the casual perspective, you need to sort of like, for the first player's Tales game is what we're going for. Like, a game that sort of like allows an ease of access to get things started with your training wheels, but a way to also have an approach where you start to unlock the battle system more as you play. So it's an ease of access start, but once you play it to the end, you unlock a good amount of tools to have a good experience with the gameplay. I think that should be the way to go with it. Like, Vesperia, the only issue, I think, with Vesperia is that, like, it takes a lot to sort of fully unlock that game. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Vesperia for, like, what it starts to unlock, but it is such a grind to start unlocking things. Oh, here's our battle tutorial for Rokuro, by the way. Use these tutorials to just run away. This is some tech here if you get caught into like a moment like this. I don't know what speedruns of Berseria go. They obviously skip cutscenes, which is not what this marathon is all about. But yeah, that's why I like swapping between the characters, because it gives you a chance to run away from encounters if you don't have the appropriate vent heights. Where am I going? Am I lost already? Okay, I know where to go now. Okay, gotta head south here. Casual, the term casual hasn't really have a good grasp for a while, because, like, again, gamers nowadays, they want to use the term casual to sort of like fling to say that they're better, but we can't use that. Like, I say this because, like, it doesn't contribute to anything. It doesn't progress anything. Like, the point of contention and discussion where you could tell that somebody's using the terminology casual just to make themselves feel better about their gameplay, that's well, that won't result much to dialogue, and dialogue is important when it comes to conversations in general. You can't just have a monologue just boosting your own ego, but when it comes to dialogue, you really need to, like, realize and understand that there has to be, it's a two-way path. You need to know that both have to be spoken to and whatnot. Sorry, as much as I like to continue this discussion, I kind of screwed up a little bit here. Okay, never mind. It's Dora crosses the save point. Okay. Like, I feel like if there's a fine middle ground for a game to be like, because like, there's like a recent game that came out that sort of like tried to appeal to casuals but not too much to hardcores. Like, what was it? Like, did people make that comment about Guilty Gear Strive? I haven't played the game myself. I definitely heard the feedback about it. Like, it's really hard. Like, as much as we could talk about this, being a game dev is hard work. Like, how much can you appeal to sort of have that balance of being like, oh, you have to be mindful of, like, the people who've been with your series who like the gameplay for a long time, while being mindful of, like, expanding your audience in, like, a casual approach, like an ease of access approach. It's like, that's really hard. We can talk about all we want of what we want, but we're just the customers in the restaurant here. We don't know what goes behind that chef's kitchen. It's just, there's so much to it where it's like, we can discuss it as much as we want, but unless we're game designers ourselves, we don't know how hard that is. And that's why I appreciate whenever they try. There's always going to be experiments. Things are going to be perfect, but essentially they keep trying. And as long as they keep trying, I think games are going to do well. But I feel like a dialogue between what needs to be understood between casual versus hardcore needs to be done. But realistically, some ego overlooking has to be done first, because like a lot of video games inherently are all about, oh, we beat these games, so we feel good about it, so it feeds to our egos, for lack of a better term, because ego is like a term where we use where we feel better about ourselves, but maybe how we feel about ourselves individually, but it also coincides with how we feed to our egos. So those two come into perspective, but geez, Velvet just staring at us like a huge skin image. But anyway, those two come into perspective when we think about this stuff, because at the end of the day, there has to be a dialogue to be done between, like, the current approach of gaming when it comes to the audience that is, like, geared towards versus how to appeal to those who've been playing games that want it for the hardcore gameplay. But that dialogue doesn't come as often because of the fact that, essentially, gamers are a little bit too proud to sort of find that fine line of dialogue sometimes with those who just want to play the games just to, as if they're reading a story or watching a movie. They're not into it. Like, to go super hardcore, but that doesn't mean they're bad. There's nothing wrong with that. You can have your approach however you want, but having a dialogue should be the way to go. Anywho, that tangent aside, I think we might be getting close to a checkpoint. I don't know how long this boss fight might take, so I don't want to risk it, especially since I'm expecting people to be joining later on after the next break. So I won't be beating this boss fight for this next session. I thought I could do it, but I don't want to risk it because we got a lot of cutscene after this. Oh, this is also the first time we hear the theme of, I think, this character or another character, but I like this scene because it's kind of more like, it's relaxed, it's chill, it's pure, it gives a nice feeling of a piano piece going on here. Things are at peace.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you know why the needle points north? Who figured out?
And also, this we find another compass. Remember, this compass is very important for the plot. Listen to the people who made it. I'm not poking fun at those who analyze. Analyzing stuff prior to game releases is fun. It helps with hype and everything. But I was just so amused by how wrong we all were at the end of the day after analyzing this game prior to its release. It's like, oh, this compass didn't really end up being important after all. It's just kind of amusing.
That's just my opinion, though, not an order. Got that?
Understood.
I think casual games are those whose combat draws you in quickly with flashy animations and whatnot, and builds on that. You know what? That's actually a good way of putting it. Like, I think Marvel vs. Capcom 3 really excels on that. I'm sorry to bring up like an old game, but yeah, like that game really excels well because it looks so good. And honestly, I think that's why Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite didn't do so well, because like not only were the roster choices not too well, but the game when it came out didn't particularly look too well. So the casual approach of things looking really cool, like simple as it sounds, it works. It's simple because it works. It's cliched because it works. Like there's a reason why they're cliched, because they work. So like hearing that perspective when it comes to like the casual and hardcore perspective, visual aesthetics is definitely an importance of letting games grow and expand. And at the same time, the gameplay doesn't take a hit, because that's more so what the consumer sees, like from that perspective. It's like, wow, this looks really cool. And at the same time, they can also get a taste of the gameplay because of them already being attracted by visuals, because visuals are a big thing. I don't mind visuals about gameplay. Heck, I played the Tales series since I first started with Symphonia, but I'm not going to be like blind enough to say that visuals aren't important for gameplay. For games, I mean to say. Gameplay has a different story. Can we play the next cutscene? I think we can. Let's do it.
All right, it's open.
What was that?
It's the Von Eltia telling us they're approaching.
Old game means like how long ago it's been since you last played it. Of course, you can play a game anytime you feel like it. I'm just talking about like the years ago. It's been 10 years since we've last played, since Marvel vs. Capcom 3 came out, is what I'm saying. But I understand that perspective that you have. You know what's cool about this game? You have quick saves. So I want to save here first as my main save point, and I'm going to quick save once you get to the point where I know we're going to run into an encounter. A very important one. Well, it's our boss fight, basically. So I'm just going to finish up the little tidbits here or there, and then I think in the next part, after the break, we'll be continuing off with Vortigern here. Am I playing as Velvet? No, I'm not. Oh, sorry. Again, when I don't mean to play these skits, because the games in the marathon aren't showing any skits, but bear with me, because again, the last game we played, we had to press the triangle button to go to the menu, but in this game it's the touchpad. So bear with me as I try to adjust from this game. Adjust to this game from previous games of the marathon, where triangle is the menu button. I think of series like Tekken, which never used to have flashy supers or exploits. The thing about Tekken was that it still had a visual advantage in the beginning. You wanna know what that visual advantage is? It was in 3D. And Tekken came out at a time when it was 3D. It was like super, super big back in the day. Like everybody was talking about Tekken, more so than Virtual Fighter, I felt. even though Virtual Fighter did come out before Tekken. At least during my time, people couldn't stop talking about Tekken. That was a visual advantage it had, but nowadays, like, Tekken has adapted the moment that they... yeah, that's a visual advantage for Tekken. Sorry, I misread your statement there, Royalty, but that's pretty much just what I'm going with. Like, the 3D for the beginning for Tekken really helped that series when it started off. Hey, it's relevant. There's some Tekken references in these Tales games.
Makes sense.
I think after the second switch, we should do the second switch and then, like, we wait for the boss fight. I don't think the boss fight shows up here. I don't think it does. Yeah, we gotta get the second switch first. Okay, perfect. I remember.
Looks like you wanna
These fights we really can't run away from, can we? But we really can't, like avoid, can we, on the field? Anywho. Jump down right here. I think my voice is kind of starting to recover a little bit here, so... But we may have some guests later on, depending on how we can get things sorted out here. I think we're good to go. They've been advertising it on their Twitter. So, we're going to stop off right here. I expect to finish the boss, but I guess that was a little bit naive of me, because I forgot about all the cutscenes that happened during this time. So, this is where we're going to take our break.
Let's meet up with the Von Eltia.
Yeah, so we're going to take our break here. I'm just going to pick up these coins because Super Mario Brothers, hahaha. And, yeah, we'll be back in about 30 minutes or so. So I'll see you guys in a bit.